मॉडरेटर आज के डॉक्टर नीलेश कुमार, उनके परमिशन से आई जस्ट वेलकम you all in 37th CME and 10th web event of Shahabad Society.
Good.
We are passing through the second wave of COVID-19 and are really facing a big challenge. I know few members of our society are also presently in this trap of COVID-19. I wish them all early recovery. The inadequate hospital beds, inadequate oxygen supply, and inadequate life-saving medicines have created really a very tough time. This is, of course, a man-made panic. Anyhow, we should continue taking all possible precautions against this. And please do not go to your workplace without guard and other safety measures. Now, I welcome today's chairperson, most respected Professor A.S.B. Sahai sir, who is a real mentor, guide, and all-time advisor of Bihar Ophthalmic Society. Professor Sahai did his MBBS in 1966 and his PG in 1973 from PMCH. He joined as resident surgeon there and subsequently retired as professor and head of the Department of Ophthalmology from PMCH in 2002. He got opportunities to be trained in Sitapur Eye Hospital, Dr. R.P. Center, Delhi, Moorfield Eye Hospital, London, and many other places. Still, he is engaged in so many community services. He is most youthful member of Bihar Ophthalmic Society. उनको देखकर हमेशा लगता है कि हम लोग भी अभी युवा हैं. Welcome, sir. I welcome the eminent presenter of the day, Dr. Manish Singh from Kolkata, to whom I really find an all-time genius. In spite of his scheduled heavy engagements, he spared time to be here with us today. I also welcome Dr. Moazzam Akbar, another genius from our own soil. Last month, we learned many things from him in perimetry, and very kindly he has accepted to be here as guest panelist today. I welcome all the co-chairpersons, program coordinators, panelists on this SOS web platform. We are fortunate to have you all with us. Because of your presence, today's session will be more interactive. And after the talk, we will have question and answer session. Hope after this web event, everybody will be wiser. This society, Shahabad Ophthalmic Society, is obliged to people from Ajanta Pharma for their generous technical support. Welcome everybody. Now over to today's moderator of the session, Dr. Nilesh Kumar. Nilesh, mute ho.
Mute.
Thank you, Rinka sir, for providing me this opportunity to again moderate the 10th session of our Shahabad Ophthalmic Society meeting. And before we start, I would like to invite Professor A.S.B. Sahai sir for his opening remark on today's topic, Art and Science of Gonioscopy.
Thanks, Dr. Nilesh. And is I audible to you?
Yes, sir.
Sir, pranam. Bilkul, sir.
Pranam. First, first of all, I admire the ophthalmologist of Shahabad to organize this lovely webinar in the present crisis of COVID. So I welcome all of you. And gonioscopy is a very wonderful term coined by Trantus, Greek ophthalmologist. He was the first man who coined this term. In fact, this is the gateway of the angle of the anterior chamber. And my perception is glaucoma owes its existence because of gonioscopy. We are in a position to classify it in a different narrow angle, wide angle, and things like that. There are many names, we must remember them, the Goldman, and many more. And it's lovely to hear Manish who is a 30 on the topic of glaucoma, especially gonioscopy. I'm sure everybody will become wiser after hearing his talk. So with these words, I wish all of you, and I'm going to watch the proceeding with God's speed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind words of encouragement. And I would also like to invite Dr. Akbar, sir, and his introduction by Akhil, sir. Sir, mute पे हैं, sir.
Thanks for giving me opportunity. First of all, good evening to all my respected key seniors and my dear colleague. Dr. M.A. Akbar. He was MBBS from Government Medical College, Calicut, Kerala, and MS from Darbhanga Medical College, Bihar, and got fellowship in glaucoma from Arvind Eye Hospital, Madurai, and FICO, AIOS Glaucoma, and FICO, UK. He was assistant professor in WIMS Kerala and worked as a senior resident at NMCH. Presently, he is director of Chennai Eye Care Center, Sivan and Gopalganj. As a person, he is very polite, knowledgeable, and a good teacher. His work in glaucoma is really commendable. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And on behalf of SOS, I would like to welcome Akbar, sir, for today's session. And now we will go ahead with the talk from Manish, sir. And before his talk, I would like to invite Dr. Deepak to introduce our today's presenter, Dr. Manish Singh.
Well, Dr. Manish does not need any introduction. He is well known all over the world. He started his Netralayam a few weeks back in Kolkata, the state-of-art eye hospital, and he is director and chief glaucoma there. He is also chief in BBI hospital. He did long-term glaucoma fellowship and was former consultant at Shankar Nethralaya. And he has been our voice of the East in the Glaucoma Society of India as the East Zone representative for since from 2012 to 2018 in 2 consecutive terms. So with this, I introduce Dr. Manish, the stage is yours.
Thank you, sir. Now I would like to invite Manish, sir, for his talk on today's talk, the art and science of gonioscopy. Sir, please.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nilesh. First of all, I'd like to thank Deepak sir for a generous introduction, and good evening to everyone, especially Professor Sahai sir, Dr. Rungta sir, and everyone, Dr. Akbar also. It's been nice to meet everyone and get an opportunity. And considering that we are now part of the second wave, so I'm sure we will be getting more opportunities virtually. And personally, I never consider, am I audible, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So personally, I never consider myself as a outside faculty in Bihar, because I've been such a frequent visitor to Bihar and so much love I've got in Bihar. But thanks to Corona, last 1 year, I've never even got a chance to board a flight. So I don't know. Previously, it used to be almost every 2 weeks we used to fly and travel here and there. But it's been more than a year. We have not taken a single flight. I have not taken a single flight. So coming to the topic of gonioscopy, I'll just share my presentation. Yeah. Sorry. Just a second. Just a second. Yeah. Is it visible, Dr. Nilesh?
Yes, sir.
So I'll try to have a very informal type of discussion because I think all of us, we know each other very well. And gonoscopy is one topic where we know this science, we know this art, we all have been doing gonoscopy. So I'm sure we can have a lot of interesting discussion on this topic. Coming to the topic of gonoscopy, we'll start with why gonoscopy is so important and why we are dedicating 1 full hour of Shahabad Ophthalmic Society webinar on gonoscopy. So I'm sure this is something very important because of which we all are here today. And if we see the glaucoma in Indian perspective, something which we all know that whatever we have read from our textbooks like Kansky or Shield is that open angle glaucoma is more common than the angle closure glaucoma. But if you see the population of India or for the Chinese population or from Singapore, we have narrower angles. So we tend to have more angle closure glaucoma compared to what has been reported in Kansky or the Shields. So our prevalence of angle closure glaucoma is high. Also, what is important that if you see the overall risk of blindness in angle closure glaucoma, it is more compared to primary open angle glaucoma. So a same patient with the open angle glaucoma has a lesser probability of getting blind. So it's 2 times more in angle closure glaucoma. So considering that since angle closure glaucoma is so common in our population, we definitely need to focus more on gonoscopy because as Professor Sai sir was mentioning that gonoscopy is the only established way to differentiate an open angle and closed angle. So to classify glaucoma, we need gonoscopy. But what is also important about angle closure glaucoma that this is one type of glaucoma which is actually preventable. If you see primary open angle glaucoma or a juvenile open angle glaucoma, you can't prevent it. If a patient is going to develop juvenile glaucoma, he will develop. At max, you can detect it early and you can prevent the blindness, but you can't prevent the patient from developing glaucoma. But in a case of primary angle closure glaucoma, if you are doing routine gonoscopy in your patient and you're detecting a patient in early stage, say the patient is still having occludable angle or a patient is in a primary angle closure suspect stage, and you do a PI and you open the angle, the patient may never develop glaucoma in his lifetime. So these type of patients who are high risk patient with strong family history, needs regular dilatation, closed angles, these patients, if you do a PI, you are actually preventing glaucoma. So this is one type of glaucoma which can be prevented and a timely PI may actually almost cure the disease also. That is why gonoscopy is so important for our population and our practice of ophthalmology. Also, if you see, most glaucoma, unfortunately, till now in India are treated without gonoscopy. If you see the prescriptions from so many places, I say 50% of patients you will not find a gonoscopy done, or if it is done, maybe the data is missing, not done properly. So gonoscopy is something which we still need to master. And there are multiple reasons why gonoscopy is still not that popular. One of the reasons I strongly believe is the gonioscope itself. When we were taught in our post-graduation, we were taught with a 1 mirror or a 2 mirror. And this is a 3 mirror which I had purchased when I was a 3rd year postgraduate. So we used to use this. So when you're doing a gonoscopy using a 1 mirror, 2 mirror or a 3 mirror, it's a little cumbersome process. You have to put a drop of topical anesthesia, then put a jelly in the lens, then put the lens, and after putting the lens, you try to see the angle, then rotate 4 times, and then see the angle in totality. So the whole thing takes time. And we all are busy practitioners, and in a busy practice, a lot of time what I used to feel that we used to try to find reason for not doing gonoscopy. If suppose the angle is looking shallow, we'll say, "Theek hai, chal raha hai, lag raha hai, oh, it's okay only." Or if suppose an aphakic or a pseudophakic patient will anyway assume the angle is open. So a lot of time we used to avoid doing gonoscopy because it used to take time. It was a cumbersome and messy process. But the moment I shifted to a 4 mirror gonioscope during my fellowship in Shankar Nethralaya, I realized I started doing more and more gonioscopy because see, we have already checked pressure by a apprenation tonometry. So eye is already anesthetized. Now 4 mirror, you can just simply put the lens. You don't need any gel, nothing. patient needs to look straight. There are 4 mirrors. You don't even need to rotate up, down, right, left. You will actually see it takes less than 30 seconds to do a gonoscopy using a 4 mirror, whether it's a handheld like with the handle like the Posner type, or without handle like the Sussman type. So actually it saves a lot of time. And if there is one take home message from my presentation today to anyone who is listening, try to switch to a 4 mirror gonoscopy. And trust me, initially for few days you will have some issue because the eye will not be that well fixated. So if the patient is moving the eye, some air will enter, or you will not be able to see. But after 3-4 days of, if you're regularly trying, you will find it much easy, and you will start doing more and more gonoscopy. You will stop finding an excuse for not doing gonoscopy. So believe me, if there is one take home message from my presentation, please switch to 4 mirror gonoscopy, and I'm telling you, you will bless me. So there are multiple reasons why 4 mirror is important, because you don't need a coupling gel. It's very quick, comfortable, and also very important, the curvature is flatter than the corneal curvature. So if you see the cornea is curved, when you're putting a 1 mirror, 2 mirror, there is a gap between the base of the gonioscope and the cornea, and that gap needs to be filled with the coupling gel, like a gonio gel or a viscoelastic material. But when you're using a 4 mirror, it is flatter than the cornea, so it sits directly over the cornea and there is no gap. So the tear film actually acts as a coupling media, so you don't need a coupling gel, so it's not messy. A lot of time after doing gonoscopy, some patient will tell you, sir, aankh bahut chit-chit kar raha hai. These things will not happen. Now coming to a very quick question, what are the indications of gonoscopy in your practice? We have a lot of senior practitioners. I'll ask Dr. Akbar, what is your indication for doing gonoscopy? Dr. Akbar. Are you there, Dr. Akbar? Dr. Nilesh?
Hello.
So,
Hello.
Yeah, anyone will like to have
so
a
for
comment?
me, it will be if patient is coming into OPD, he has to get a gonioscopy done. That is my indication.
So I
Hello.
think that's a very good indication that every patient in the OPD, you are doing a gonoscopy. If you can achieve it, amazing. At least there are some indication where definitely we have to ensure that we are not missing gonoscopy. One point which is very important from current ophthalmic practice, nowadays the patients have changed. The scenario is not like say 20 years back. Patients have become very, very intelligent, very demanding also. A lot of time we get patients who come to our OPD and they will not tell you that they are using anti-glaucoma medication. So I saw a patient, this was 0.4, everything is normal, pressure normal, his gonoscopy normal. I said everything's fine. Then when he's going, he's saying, sir, but I'm already using a timolol draw. I said, why are you using it? My pressure was 24, recorded 1 week back or 2 weeks back somewhere else. So I just came for second opinion. I said, if you don't tell me, I can't detect it, because ocular hypertension, everything will be normal. Similarly, we have seen patient where we have left the patient and then suddenly patient comes and tells me, I went to so-and-so doctor and he advised me to do a iridotomy. You didn't tell me. So then it becomes a little embarrassing. So we have to ensure that every patient who comes to our OPD, whether the patient comes for a presbyopia glass or a cataract or a dry eye or that foreign body sensation, whatever, you have, like you're doing a refraction, you do a IOP checkup, preferably by applanation tonometry, do a gonoscopy and do a dilated evaluation of disc and the retina. Because a lot of diseases, apart from glaucoma, even early glaucoma is very difficult to detect undilated. Similarly, you can have a CSR, you can have a peripheral RD, you can have a lattice with hole. So these patients you will miss if you're not doing a comprehensive evaluation. So who knows gonoscopy? As Dr. Akbar said, ideally everyone. But unfortunately, we are not in a very ideal situation. But at least we have to make sure we are not treating a glaucoma patient without gonoscopy. And that is extremely important. Also, some very important indication apart from established glaucoma. Like I always tell my optometrist, any patient with family history of glaucoma, raised pressure, trauma, pigment dispersion, pseudoexfoliation, retinal vein occlusion, and we're doing routinely Van Herrick's, which is not foolproof, but at least you get an idea whether it's a shallow or not. these patients you should be doing gonioscopy. At least initially you start doing in all patients, and over time if you can do in all, great. Also, there are certain very interesting clues which you can see on a routine slit-lamp evaluation, which will make you understand, okay, this patient I should do a gonioscopy. For example, in this patient, you can see there are some glaucoma flaking. You can see this is a shallow chamber with some glaucoma flaking, which indicates that patient probably had an angle closure glaucoma in past. I should look into the angle properly. This is another patient. You can see there are areas of pupillary rough atrophy, which is also an indication of past angle closure, subacute angle closure attacks. Then you can see Krukenberg spindle. Whenever you see this, you should definitely look into the angle. There is some pigment dispersion going on. Plus, patients with pseudoexfoliation, we all are aware of this. These patients also, you should do gonioscopy because almost 50% of these patients will have angle closure glaucoma. Van Harring's test is not a replacement of gonioscopy. You don't decide to do a PI based on Van Harring. But in a busy OPD, you can definitely use it, especially a lot of places who are using optometrists for checking pressures and all. They can train their optometrists or fellows or students to have a practice of Van Harring. And believe me, you will detect a lot of shallow chambers, which you can do a gonioscopy and decide whether they need a PI or not. But decision of the PI will always be based on the gonioscopy. So I'll have one small question for anyone in the panel. How many of us are doing Van Harring's routinely in our practice? Anyone will like to comment on this? Rumta sir or anyone? Dr. Sanjeev is there? Is he there? Sanjeev ji?
Dr. Sanjeev ji here.
Sanjeev.
Dr.
So-
Sanjeev.
Dr. Sanjeev, are you there?
Mute him. Mute him. Mute. You are mute, Dr. Sanjeev.
Anyone would like to comment on
Yeah,
this? Are you using Van Harring's for your patients
Yeah,
routinely?
I am using.
Yes,
Yeah, we do all patient actually.
yeah, we do prefer to do Van Harring at least.
At least. So it's actually very useful. You can detect a lot of shallow chambers in Van Harring's, especially for the younger ophthalmologists or postgraduate. I've seen a lot of them are not using. So if you just start using more routinely, you probably will be detecting more angle closures. I won't go into much of optical principle of gonioscopy because it will be a little theoretical why we need a gonoscope. This is a small video of examination tonometry. So you can see here how we do a tonometry, and you have to meet the inner edges of this, something we all know. Now coming to gonioscope again, you see here, they are direct and the indirect gonioscopes. I don't think we any of us using direct, but if you have a pediatric ophthalmic practice, I do have a Swan Jacob, which we often use for goniosynostolysis and maybe occasionally for a goniotomy, but not very commonly. Coppel lens we used to use in Shankar Netralaya to see the angle in pediatric eyes, but these are not routinely used. What is more commonly used is the indirect gonioscope, 1 mirror, 2 mirror, 3 mirror, 4 mirror. I think some pharma company were recently giving a 6 mirror gonioscope. It's very good. It's similar to 4 mirror, but you have a 2 extra mirror. The Zeiss is the prototype one, but it's not available. What is available is the Poschner or the Sussman. A lot of time we discuss which is better. Hardly matters. You can use whatever you want. Both give you same result. How to place a gonio lens, I think we'll again skip this part. One advantage we have with 1 mirror, 2 mirror, as a initial, if you want to learn gonioscopy, sometimes with a 4 mirror, you have a problem with fixation because the eye is constantly moving. But if you're using an indirect gonioscope like a 1 mirror, 2 mirror or 3 mirror, since the fixation is better, it's a good learning tool. So for those who are not doing at all, maybe they can start with this, and over time, then you can switch to a 4 mirror gonioscope. But as I was telling you, 4 mirror is quick, comfortable, also very, very important. It helps you to differentiate an appositional and cynical closure. Shall be coming to it. Very briefly, few points about the technique, which will always explain the patient what we are doing. Use topical anesthesia. Room should be darkened. No need to be completely dark, but there should not be bright light falling on the pupil because it will lead to miosis and will lead to false opening of the angle. Also important, patient should be looking straight. All the classification of angle closure, open angle, closed angle is based on the primary gauge. If the patient is looking up or right or left, your angle will be falsely open or closed. And illumination should be low and adequate. For example, in applanation tonometry, we use a broad light and maximum illumination over the tip so that we get a good mire. But in gonoscopy, we use a narrow beam, say 2 by 2 or 1 by 2 millimeter, and we put it directly in the angle through the lens, through the mirror rather, so that it's not falling on the pupil, because then it will lead to a false myosis. So these are few small things we should be taking. This is a small video I had prepared once to show that this is a 1 minute video. You can see the duration 1 minute. So this patient, you can see already we have stained the cornea. We are checking the pressure first in the right eye. You can check the pressure using a plan. This is something what we are doing routinely, and then other eye you're checking the pressure. Once you have checked the pressure, my assistant knows that he needs to switch off the light. You see the eye is already anesthetized. This is a 4-mirror Poshner type. I'll just simply put the lens. The room light is switched off. It's a dimly illuminated room. Now up, down, right, left. We can see all the 4 angles, not together, but by then again you put the light, put the mirror on the other side. So if you see, by 50 seconds, actually I have done gonioscopy also and applanation tonometry also. So the reason I show this video, that once you switch to 4-mirror, you realize you will save so much time that you will enjoy doing gonioscopy. You will like to do more and more gonioscopy. This is a technique of putting a 3-mirror. Again, we all know this. Little bit about the manipulative gonioscopy, which is something which is done generally with a 1-mirror, 2-mirror, or 3-mirror. If the patient is looking in primary gaze and the angle is closed, you can ask the patient to look toward the mirror. So that what happens, the eye will turn down or up towards the mirror, and you can see over the convexity of the iris. This is something what we call as the manipulative gonioscopy. But again, as I have told you, what you're seeing in the primary gaze is something what you should note. Once you ask the patient to look up, down, right, left, and if you can see more, that is fine, but that is not what based on which you are going to classify your angle. So if I know primary gaze, I see that I can see posterior trabecular meshwork or anterior trabecular meshwork. So that is something what I need to write. Not if suppose the eye patient turns the eye and I can see scleral spur or a ciliary body, that is not something what is written in the classification. We'll come to indentation gonioscopy also. Indentation gonioscopy, you can see this is a small video. This is first, and you can see the picture. You can see the cornea. Once you are using a 4-mirror, when you are pressing in the center, the iris moves back, and because of which the angle opens up. Now, if there is a synechial closure, means the iris is completely adhered to the cornea, or peripheral cornea or trabecular meshwork, it will not move back because there is synechia. But if an appositional closure, that the iris is just touching the trabecular meshwork, once you press the central part of the cornea, the iris will move back. So there is a difference between the synechial and appositional closure. This is something which is very nicely demonstrated in small video. You can press here, angle is opening up. You leave, the angle closes. You can press, angle is, it's a little hazy video, but I think you can appreciate the trabecular meshwork. You see the trabecular meshwork here, you leave, the angle is closing. So this is called indentation gonioscopy. You indent, but what is important also that when you're doing a routine gonioscopy, and if you see that you're not indenting, you're just seeing the structure and you're putting too much of pressure, then you can see these DM folds are coming. So initially when you start doing 4-mirror, you will see if you're seeing too many DM folds, you just slightly move away from the cornea. Presence of DM fold indicates that you are indenting. When you are intentionally indenting to see the angle, that's a different thing. You see it's a closed angle, you're pressing, the angle is slightly opening up, then you are actually indenting. But when you are classifying it's open or a closed angle, then you don't want to indent. You want to see in a primary gaze without indentation. In that case, if you see these DM folds, this means you are pressing too much, move away. Now coming to 4-mirror again, why 4-mirror is also important, because you can differentiate an appositional and synechial closure. So this is a closed angle. When you indented, you see the angle has opened up. You can see the trabecular meshwork, you can see the scleral spur. This is the different eye. You can see when you're indenting, the angle is opening, but you can see some point synechia. So the patient on my left is open angle, opening on compression. So it's a positional closure, and this patient is opening, but there are presence of synechia. So if we know the classification of angle closure disease, this is the most recent EGS guideline. I have the soft copy. If anyone's interested, I can share it with them. It's a very 2020 guideline of European Glaucoma Society. They have classified angle closure glaucoma in 3 parts: primary angle closure suspect, primary angle closure, and primary angle closure glaucoma. So if you have this patient where you are indenting an angle is opening up and the pressure is normal, disc and field are normal, so these are suspects. In this case, you may do PI, you may not do PI. If suppose the patient needs regular dilatation, patient has a strong family history of glaucoma, patient is complaining of occasional rainbow halos, these patients you can do a PI. In this patient, you can see there is orally synechia formation has happened. So this is not an angle closure suspect. This is a primary angle closure patient. In this case, PI is a must. So based on your gonioscopy and based on whether it's appositional or synechial closure, you can decide which patient PI is a must and which patient I can even observe. This is something which you can't do confidently with a 1 mirror, 2 mirror, 3 mirror, because you need indentation for this. The definition and the classification of angle closure disease in current practice is based on the so for that, this is important. Now we'll quickly go through the structures, and most of us are aware. You can see the structures in a wide open angle. You have the ciliary body, then the white scleral spur, then the trabecular meshwork, and in front you have the pearly white line, which is basically the Solbes line. And in between the pearly white line and the trabecular meshwork, you have got the anterior trabecular meshwork, which is non-pigmented. I'll just revise it once more. You can see the trabecular ciliary body, slaty gray, then the spur, posterior pigmented trabecular meshwork, pearly white Solbes line, and in between is the anterior trabecular meshwork. Sometimes you can use the corneal wedge to detect the Solbes line. In this case, we use an oblique light, thin beam of oblique light. Now, what is Solbes line? It is the termination of the Descemet membrane. So when you're putting a light obliquely, the light from the front portion and the back portion of the cornea goes and meet at the point of the termination of Descemet membrane, and that is the Solbes line. So you can use this corneal wedge. The point where the two light will meet is the Solbes line. Sometimes you can use it, but in practice, you'll see it's not that easy to get such a thin beam. You need a good slit lamp and you need a lot of practice also.
ना जैसे white flash करेगा देखते हैं अभी हम.
Now quickly about the grading scheme. Now the skis grading 1, 2, 3, 4, then the Schaffer again. Schaffer, the 4 is wide open, and skis 1 is actually open, narrow. So basically what happens, in grade 4 it is narrow. The skis grading, the Schaffer grading, and the speed grading, something I don't know, we actually use it in practice. It is important for exam going students, but what is more important in practicality is to note the structures what you're using. So suppose if Dr. Akbar has seen the patient in Patna and he has mentioned that superiorly he can see PTM, inferiorly he can see ATM, nasally he can see ATM, and the patient comes to me, I can understand what he has seen, and I can repeat the gonioscopy and try to correlate whether I can see the same thing or less or more, or whether over time patient has a gradual narrowing of angle. So say 2 years back I was seeing PTM, now it has become ATM. This means the patient is gradually going towards angle closure. But if suppose someone writes 1 or 2, I don't know what it means, whether he's using the speed grading or the Schaffer grading or the skis grading. So I think the best thing is just write what you are seeing. Also write the pigmentation of trabecular meshwork 1, 2, 3, 4. It is mainly important for say patchy pigmentation in angle closure, or a dense pigmentation in a pigmentary glaucoma, or sometimes you see those dirty angles like the pseudoexfoliation. You can write the convexity of iris. It is convex, flat, or concave. You can see, note, you can draw whether there is any synechia or not, and any other obvious abnormality. For example, you're seeing a new vessel or iris hum, that you can draw. This is something which I generally do in my practice if it's a closed angle. If it's an open angle, I just like write, say, SS or PTM or ciliary body, whatever. Or I write open angle, open till ciliary body. But if it's a closed angle, then we write in a dark light and with compression what you are seeing. So suppose in a dark light means in a darkened room, each quadrant what you can see, and when you compress, then what you can see. If suppose on compression also angle is not opening up, then we note it where you have synechia and where the angles are closed. So this gives you a lot of detailed information about how you document your angle. Now we'll run through some clinical examples. This is a wide open angle. I've already shown this. This is another patient. You can see the corneal wedge is going behind the iris. It is not meeting. If you see here, is it Runta sir? Is that visible here in the picture? You can see the corneal wedge here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Dr. Manish, everything is visible.
Yes, sir.
But
Oh, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. I'm
you
just
check-
checking if everyone is awake or not, because you understand glaucoma is a little not as happening as phaco.
No, but you have to explain it minutely. This is this structure, this is this structure. Because
Sure, sir.
I know in my society, more than 60% they are not doing colonoscopy. That's all.
So I think very rarely you get a chance to speak for half an hour on gonoscopy, and I am
No,
taking a liberty that I may
Yes,
even
yes.
go for 10
That
minutes
is
more.
full liberty. You are the only presenter.
So I'm going slow,
Yeah.
and if you feel anything else I want to discuss again, I'll again come back to that slide.
Here, I just want to get the differentiating points from open angle to closed angle. Open angle,
Okay.
the structures are seen clearly.
Sure, sure.
Ciliary body and the scleral spur, then trabecular meshwork.
Open angle, you can see ciliary body, you can see the scleral spur,
Yeah.
trabecular meshwork.
Yeah.
So closed angle, we see this closed
How
angle.
to differentiate?
What can we see this?
Yes.
Now, if you see the iris, it's a little convex.
Yes.
It is going all the way up to the angle. And if you see from above, the light which is coming, that is the corneal, from the light, it is the corneal wedge. It is going and it is not meeting anywhere. So it is going behind the iris. If you see all these four structures in the left picture, none of the structures are visible in the right picture. Is that clear, sir? So the classification broadly, unless you see a posterior trabecular meshwork, it's a closed angle. If you see a ATM, that is anterior trabecular meshwork or a ciliary spur, it's a closed angle. So in this case, you can see, you can't see any structure. So it's a very, very closed angle. On the other hand, on the left side, you can see all the four structures can be seen. This is another example you can see. It's the same picture, I think. None of the structures can be seen. Now, when you are compressing, now again, you can see the most anteriorly, you can see this pigmented, this is a pigmented Solby's line. Then behind that, I'm putting the arrow, it is the anterior trabecular meshwork. Then this is the uniformly pigmented area. This is the posterior trabecular meshwork. And then you have the scleral spur, the white band just above the iris. You can't see ciliary body, which is a slaty gray color. Very clearly, if you see here, you can see one or two iris processes here. Here you can see one or two iris processes. So in this case, it's a closed angle, but when you are compressing, the angle is opening up. So this is an appositional type of closed angle. This is another patient you can see a patent PI here. Von Herrick, you can't understand, but on CTEM, you can appear like a shallow chamber. On gonoscopy, this is a posterior trabecular meshwork can be seen here. You can see the PI here. Again, this is the inferior angle. You can see inferior angle. There are some tent-like small synechia can be seen. And then this is the trabecular meshwork. So this is a patient where the PI has been done, and post-PI, you can see the angle has opened up. Some remnant of synechia is still left. This is a patient with plateau iris. You can see a PI here. It's a patent PI. Now, if you see this picture, the angle is closed. So even with the patent PI, the angle is closed. Now, this closure can be an appositional closure or a synechial closure. But when you are compressing, you can see the iris is moving back. and the angle is opening up. So this means this is not a synechial closure. Now, if you have done a PI, you have removed the pupillary block, the angle should open up. Why the angle is not opening up? One possibility is synechia, which is not there. Second possibility is the ciliary body is very anterior, and because of which it is not letting the iris fall back. So this is a plateau iris type of configuration where even with the patent PI, since the ciliary body is so anterior, angle is not opening up. In this case, when you press, the angle will open up. Sometimes because of lens induced angle closure also, you can have this type of configuration where you on a pressing, you see angle will open up. But in this case, you can see the lens is not that cataractous and neither the lens is tumescent. This is a very classical plateau iris, which is not something seen routinely, but sometimes you can see. You can see a double hump pattern. So, sir, is it visible? The double, you can see one elevation here and second elevation here. So this is the patient where you have done a PI, angle is closed. Now, when you are compressing, you are putting pressure, you can see one elevation here, one elevation here. This is because on compression, the central area is going back, the iris is going back, but peripherally because of anterior ciliary body, iris is not going back. So this again indicates that the ciliary body is very anterior, what is seen in the plateau iris configuration. So why double hump? The one hump because of the anterior ciliary body, the other hump because of the periphery of the lens, and centrally the iris is going back at the area of the zonules. This is the classical double hump pattern, which is often seen in patients with plateau iris, but not in all patients. In classical plateau iris, you can see this. I am now discussing various types of gonioscopy finding. I'll request if anything I need to discuss again, please feel free, because since it's a long presentation, I'll try to share all the varieties and we can again have a discussion about anything we want to go back. I'll go back to the slide and discuss again. So in patient with plateau iris, gonioscopy is a very good way to detect. If you are not very sure in gonioscopy, UBM actually is a good way to detect plateau iris. In UBM, you will see the ciliary body is extremely anterior and it is just behind the iris. So what happens, even with once the PI has been done, iris will not fall back. So anteriorly positioned ciliary body sort of acts as a support or buttress to prevent falling back of the iris. This can be confirmed on a UBM. So UBM is a good test for confirming plateau iris. Now UBM is also good for cases like these. Once you start doing routine gonioscopy, studies have shown that almost 4 to 5% of Indian population, you can have these humps, or what we call as the iris cyst. These humps generally are because of small iridociliary cyst, but it can be because of a ciliary body tumor also. So if you see a hump like this on a gonioscopy, you can do a UBM. Sometimes ASOCT can also be done to confirm whether there is a cyst behind or not. There is no need for any treatment for these patients, but just you need to confirm that you need to be sure that you are not dealing any case of ciliary body tumor at all. Now, sometimes you have a patient like this. Now, this particular patient, my cornea doctor is planning to do for a penetrating keratoplasty, but she is not able to understand what is the condition of the lens, whether there is synechia or not, so you have no idea about the anterior segment. Once you do once you remove the corneal button, and then you see what is the condition inside. So these cases, sometimes you can do a gonioscopy and you can plan. For example, in this case, you can see there is extensive synechia. So you can plan that, okay, this patient has a large area of synechia. Maybe the patient will need iridotomy. Whether you are planning SFIL and all, then you can plan. So gonioscopy gives you some extra information. So UBM gives you some extra information in these cases. You can also assess the angle of these patients. Again, I'll share some other classical example. This is a patient, if you see gonioscopically, this is the iris. You can see the cornea. This is the pigmented band. Now on a routine checkup, this pigmented band and a white area behind it, you see, it looks like a posterior trabecular meshwork with a scleral spur. So this is a classic open angle. But if you do a manipulative gonioscopy, or if you indent this patient, you will see what appeared as a open angle what is actually a closed angle. When you indent and you see the iris is moving back, you can see the actual pigmented trabecular meshwork can be seen. So what appeared as a trabecular meshwork in this picture was actually a pigmented Solbes line. So this is again a reason why we always say indentation is so important. When you press, you see the angle is opening up, and this is the main trabecular meshwork. So these type of findings we may miss if you're not doing an indentation. So this is a patient with non-pigmented trabecular meshwork. You can see no structure. This is actually a wide open angle. You can see these iris processes. Rumta sir, can we appreciate? Is it visible? The iris processes are visible.
Visible. Quite visible.
Okay, thank you, sir. So you can see here, this is a patient where you can see grade 4 pigmentation, typically seen in pigmentary glaucoma. And this is a patient where you can see some patchy area of pigmentation, often seen in angle closure glaucoma. But I like to discuss this patient. A lot of time we see young patient, 30-year, 40-year age, where trabecular meshwork is non-pigmented. And when you're doing a gonioscopy, you see there is no pigmentation. So initially we think that unless there is a pigmented trabecular meshwork, we assume that the angle is closed. A lot of these patients are wrongly advised as a PI. So one important point I'll tell you, whenever you see iris processes, you understand it's an open angle. Because iris processes is not seen in closed angle. These finger-like iris processes is something which starts from the root of the iris, crosses the scleral spur, and is around the scleral spur. So in a non-pigmented eye like this, so young patient, juvenile glaucoma, you can not see a pigmented trabecular meshwork. In this case, if you see iris processes, you understand it's an open angle. And in this case also you can see it's a flat iris. It's not a convex iris which we typically see in an angle closure patient. Now ciliary body band is also very important. You can see a normal ciliary body band here. This is a slaty gray
Dr.
ciliary body
Manish,
band. Yes, sir.
Dr. Manish, this is Dr. Akbar. I think it will
Yeah,
be
Boli.
beneficial for the members if you emphasize a little more on how to differentiate between an iris processes and a synechia, because that will be the crux.
Sure. We have one slide. We'll come to that.
Okay.
Okay. We'll discuss about it. So I just quickly tell you. So if you see the iris process here, these are finger-like processes which start from the base of the iris. And if you see a synechia, if the last case if you see, now you can see here synechia like this. These are more triangular with a broader base, and they have a iris stoma involved. You can see here the iris stoma is also involved. It's a slightly small picture. So you have more triangular with the iris stoma involved, and you have to see associated findings also. Like you have a patchy pigmentation, convex iris, closed angle. On the other hand, if you see iris processes are seen in wide open angles. So in this patient, if you see, it's a flat iris, wide open angle. You can see multiple finger-like processes. These are not triangular processes from the base of the iris, and they don't involve the stoma. So they are not that broad. We have more pictures on synechia. We'll come back again to this topic. Now coming to ciliary body band, Dr. Akbar, you can see here ciliary body band is clear. The
Yeah, of
slate
course.
gray. Yeah. So in ciliary body band, whenever you see a ciliary body band, it's a wide open angle. But this is a patient with the angle recession glaucoma. This is again a very common finding which we see in blunt trauma patients, not in a penetrating trauma, mainly in blunt trauma patient. Now, how to differentiate an angle recession from a normal ciliary body? One thing you can see, there is a broad ciliary body here. So suppose we assume that this is the same eye, this is the same patient. This is suppose the right eye and this is the left eye. Now the left eye we always need to compare an angle recession eye with the other eye same quadrant. So if this is the inferior angle, so I have to compare the inferior angle of the right eye. What difference I can see? Both eyes ciliary body can be seen, but in this eye the ciliary body is exceptionally wider compared to this side. So this exceptionally wider ciliary body is an indication this is a abnormally widening, which is typically seen in angle recession glaucoma. Second, again, another thing is generally you see the ciliary body is wider than even the trabecular meshwork, but then that is something which often we can see normally also. Third thing, is the pigmentation. You can see here the pigmentation is more uniform of the trabecular meshwork. The scleral spur is not that pigmented, but in this case you can see a patchy pigmentation. You can see dispersed pigment here, dispersed pigment here. So a dispersed pigment indicates that the patient had a trauma, there was a release of pigment, there was a hyphema, and that pigmentation has got accumulated here. So these are the signs of trauma which tells you that this is an abnormally wide ciliary body indicating an angle recession. In this picture, iris processes, there is one iris process here, not very clear, but absence of iris process or torn iris process is another indication of an angle recession. So this way we need to differentiate an angle recession from a normal wide ciliary body. I was talking about iris processes. Again, coming back to iris processes here, this is the iris process and this is synechia. You can see it's a wide open angle with the flat iris. You can see the trabecular meshwork. You can see a pigmented Solbes line. And these are multiple very fine processes coming from the root of the iris. Compared to this patient, you can see a dense pigmented patient post PI. In this case, the convexity is not clear, but the root of the iris, synechia has the stoma involved. So the base is broader compared to these fine iris processes. Another important thing is the neovascularization. So new vessels sometimes need to be differentiated by a normal vessel. So this is a normal vessel which can sometimes be present in the angle. Normal vessels are much broader compared to these new vessels which are very, very fine. Now, new vessel classically will be fine and they will have branching. You can see here these vessels, they're having branching. So they generally start from the iris, they cross the scleral spur and they will branch over the trabecular meshwork. Once they get more extensive, and like in this case, you can see one new vessel here, one new vessel here, one new vessel here. Then they start contracting and the iris is pulled anteriorly to close the angle. So you see this all area, the angle is closed. And this area you can see part of the trabecular meshwork. On the other hand, if you see a normal vessel, there is no branching. It's a singular vessel. The angle is open and this is broad and it is crossing the Solbes line also going almost up to the cornea. So you can see this way you can differentiate a pathological or a new vessel compared to a normal vessel. Now I was talking about synechia. Now synechia again can be of various types. Till now we discussed about only primary angle closure. Now you can, this is a primary angle closure, small tent-like synechias. But you can have uveitic eye. Now whenever you have uveitics, especially those extensive uveitis with long-standing inflammation, what happens, iris may go and stuck with the cornea. So you can see here, these are broad, these are all, you can see these tent-like synechia. Dr. Akbar, can you appreciate it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can see these broad tent-like synechia, well anterior and whole of the angle is closed. This is very typically seen in those uveitic eye where you have whole of iris going and sticking with the peripheral cornea. Now this is a patient with eye syndrome. You can see a broad synechia here, but the rest of the angle is open. So if you see areas of synechia with area of wide open angle and this broad base synechia, this is often seen in eye syndromes. And this is a patient where you can see this are appearing to be synechia, but these are actually abnormal iris strands which are going well into the Solbes line. Again, if you see here, the Solbes line is much anterior and iris is quite behind. So it is a very anterior Solbes line. We know in Axenfeld Rieger's anomaly, you have anteriorly displaced Solbes line, what we call as posterior embryotoxin. And in this patient, the iris strand goes up to the Solbes line. So if you see here, iris strand is going up to the Solbes line and there are holes in the iris. These are holes indicating that it's a Rieger's anomaly. So this appearing as synechia, but these are actually Axenfeld Rieger's anomaly where the iris is going well into the Solbes line and there are holes indicating the Rieger's anomaly. So what I'm important trying to highlight here is that initially we need to focus whether it's an open angle or a closed angle. That is the main purpose of gonioscopy, to classify glaucoma, open or closed angle. Now, once you are more comfortable with that, then you have to try to find the secondary causes of glaucoma. Say it's an angle recession glaucoma, or it's a pigmentary glaucoma, or a pseudoexfoliation glaucoma, or it's an ICE syndrome, or a uveitic glaucoma, or Axenfeld. It can be foreign body and angle. So you have to slightly broaden your perspective. But the most important again thing is you first start doing gonioscopy. As Rungta sir was mentioning, a lot of us are still not doing gonioscopy. Let us start doing gonioscopy routinely in our patient. If you think you are very busy, you start using a 4-mirror. Initially do gonioscopy in middle-aged patients, say 40 to 60 with deep anterior chamber. In younger patients, you will not see all the structures. So go for middle-aged patients with wide open angle. You can use pseudophakic eye also, but sometimes in pseudophakic eye, because of this surgery, you will have pigment dispersion. So inferiorly, the angle will be more pigmented. Superiorly, nasally will be less pigmented. But you can take pseudophakic eyes also. Myopes are very good patients because deep AC, you will see all the structure. Once you have done a gonioscopy in 50 to 100 of these eyes and you are comfortable with the structure, what I used to do initially, I used to download pictures on Google in my tab and my phone. And I used to compare the picture of my phone with what I'm seeing, because not every time you will have a teacher to teach you. So you can compare what you're seeing on a picture on a phone. I downloaded 10 different open angles from Google. There is a website, gonioscopy.org. You can go there, and from there also you can download pictures. And you compare those pictures with what you're seeing. And slowly, once you get comfortable with open angles, now again you switch to closed angles. And then later on try to see for secondary glaucomas. And you will start enjoying gonioscopy, because gonioscopy gives you a hell of information. You will understand a lot about the mechanism of glaucoma. For example, this patient, you can see this patient on a slit lamp, there are no keratic precipitates, but on a gonioscopy, you can see multiple keratic precipitates, indicating that sometimes there is a history of uveitis. So these type of patient, you can detect keratic precipitates on gonioscopy, which might be missed on a routine septum evaluation. This is another patient, you can see a glass foreign body in the angle. So we have seen patient with with penetrating trauma with a corner scar where we never did a gonioscopy, but later on a routine gonioscopy, we found that there is a foreign body which needs to be removed, because you can often have a localized corneal decompensation. You can have a synechia formation, which can lead to secondary angle closure. So gonioscopy will open a new area of information. You will identify more cases. This was a patient who was actually referred to me by Dr. Ravi, who is a cornea consultant. He was with us in Netralayam. Now he's in Jamshedpur, Ravi Daulat. He saw a patient. He was saying the patient is having inferior synechia and corneal decompensation. We're not able to find the cause. When this patient had a penetrating injury. When we did a gonioscopy, we found there's a glass foreign body in the angle. On a UBM also, you can see the high spike indicating. So you can often see very interesting things on a gonioscopy. This is a patient with a hypotony. Now, patient with hypotony, gonioscopy is difficult because it's difficult to fixate the eye. When this patient, you can see post-trauma hypotony, you can see this is a black area, which is basically iridodialysis. And this is a white area where the ciliary body has moved away from the sclera, opening this area. So basically it's a cyclodialysis cleft. So there is a gap between the ciliary body and the sclera. I've got few more slides, but then we'll end this presentation. Dr. Akbar, will you like to add anything?
No, sir. Very well going on.
Thank you. Anyone else? I think it's already 9 o'clock. So I'm taking my sweet time. I can see Dr. Parag Mukherjee sir is also there. Sir is the ex-president of Ophthalmic Society of West Bengal. Parag sir, anything you like to add here? I think
How to differentiate the vessels?
Yes,
Normal vessels at the angle and neovasculature.
Sir, we were seeing in that slide that if you see the normal vessel, it will be much broader. and it will not be having branching. And new vessel will have branching. They will be finer and they will have branching. As you can see here, there are branching. This plus new vessel will end up to the trabecular meshwork. It will not go beyond Swalb's line. You see a normal vessel is crossing the Swalb's line also. So these breadth of the vessel, presence of branching, and normal vessel will be generally one or two. We'll not see so many abnormal vessels. So these points.
You mean ki, this will be in the reticular form?
This will be in the
reticular form.
Retinal pathology.
Yes, sir. Reticular form. Yes, branching patterns.
Oh,
like a
reticular form. Yeah, aberration and branching pattern. Exactly.
Yes, Manish, thank you so much. I am Parag sir speaking.
Yeah, hello, sir.
Yes, I am. Thank you so much for recognizing my presence. And I was in my practice, so I couldn't listen meticulously. Is it possible sending this particular piece of video and speech to personally to me? If it is possible, I learned my many things vividly. It is probably the first time I see one speech on gonioscopy so vividly and so nicely expressed by someone. You are really one doyen in glaucoma, and particularly in gonioscopy, importance of gonioscopy and all the easy learning and everything practicing gonioscopy you have vividly expressed, but I missed because I was in my practice. So please request Ajanta or you personally send me the full lecture. Thank you.
Sir, I will just interrupt. I have attended many glaucoma sessions, and all over India, I found he is one of the best teachers in faculty of glaucoma, Dr. Manish. And another is in our place, at our place, Dr. Akbar.
Sure, sir. Thank you, sir. So we'll have few more slides before we end our presentation. So this is a patient with a blood in Schlemm's canal. So what we see in a blood in Schlemm's canal, in this case, you can see this reddish hue. So what are the cases where you can see a reddish color in gonioscopy? Sometimes when you do gonioscopy, you see some reddish color in blunt trauma patients because of minimal heme in the angle. Sometimes we see new vessels have formed in the trabecular meshwork, and you, in a cursory look, it will appear like a reddish trabecular meshwork, but you see more clearly on a higher magnification, you will see there are branching vessels on the trabecular meshwork. So reddish color can be seen in that. Also is the blood in Schlemm's. So whenever you see a blood in Schlemm's canal, it is generally patient with raised episcleral pressure. It can be a keratoconus fistula or a thyroid ophthalmopathy or a Sturge-Weber syndrome. Sometimes when you're putting too much of pressure with a gonioscope, you can block. This happens with a large base gonioscope, not with a 4 mirror, generally with a Goldman 3 mirror. When you're putting too much of pressure on the limbus, you can block the vessels in the limbus, and you are blocking the episcleral veins, and the blood gets accumulated in the episcleral veins, and there is a retrograde flow of the blood, and because of that, this blood in the Schlemm's canal can be seen through the trabecular meshwork as a reddish color. This is not always pathological, but when you see this, try to find the possible causes which I have discussed. So blood in Schlemm's canal is again a very important clinical finding. Iris hump we have already discussed. Now what is this? Anyone will like to answer this? These are like emulsified silicone oil in the angle. So all of us who are working with retinal colleagues, I work with a lot of good retinal colleagues, they routinely use silicone oil. Once they have removed the silicone oil also, a lot of these patients with silicone oil develop glaucoma because silicone oil causes fibrosis of the trabecular meshwork. And even when you have removed silicone oil, what happens to silicone oil? Even when you've done a complete, some amount of silicone oil remains in the area of zonules and the ciliary body. They get emulsified, and the silicone oil is lighter than the aqueous. It rises up, and you can see these small silicone oil emulsified bubbles in the angle. These are important because they can actually enter into the trabecular meshwork and cause fibrosis. So this is basically emulsified silicone oil in the angle, and silicone oil induced glaucoma is again a very common type of glaucoma. Cleaning of gonoscope, I think we all are doing using alcohol swab. We can use bacillocid. Very, very important in the corona time. You should be doing proper cleaning. Before every use, it should be done. Extremely, extremely useful. Quickly about a small picture quiz. We don't have any junior doctors. Most of our very senior, so I will not involve anyone in any quiz. So I only answer the quiz question. So this is again a patient. You can see ciliary body is extremely wide. The ciliary body is wider than the rest of the angle. You can see this is the slaty gray color ciliary body. You can see here it's so wide here. Sorry. You can see here it is so wide here. This is trabecular meshwork. This is scleral spur, and the ciliary body is wider than whole of the angle. Actually, this ciliary body is wider than all the structures combined. This is again typically seen in angle recession. This was a boxer patient who had an injury and developed the angle recession glaucoma. What is this? Anyone will like to answer? So this is a tube in the angle. This is basically a Ahmed glaucoma valve tube. So on a gonoscopy, you can see this tube. Sometimes we do gonoscopy to see whether there is any blockage and all, but mostly you can see on a slit lamp also, just for academic purpose. So this is a patient who had a secondary glaucoma post cataract surgery, and the patient gonoscopy was never performed for 6 months. When we did a gonoscopy, we found a misplaced capsule tension ring in the angle. You can see the CTR in the angle, which was causing an inflammation and raised intraocular pressure. So you can see a lot of so this patient, because he was pseudophakic, he was treated for glaucoma for 6 months, but everyone assumed that the angle will be open. It was never performed. So this can happen. You should do gonoscopy in every patient. This is a patient where you can see the bleb is fibrous. Patient has undergone trabeculectomy. You can see a fibrous bleb, red bleb, angry looking corkscrew vessels can be seen, indicating an ongoing fibrosis with the pressure of 32. You have put the patient on medication, still the pressure is not coming down. You are planning to do a bleb needling. Bleb needling, what we do, we put a needle, we try to cut these fibrous bands, we lift the flap of the trabecular meshwork, thus we lift the flap of the trabeculectomy, and we try to restart the flow. But whenever you're doing bleb needling, you should always do gonoscopy. If you see an angle is closed because of the iris blocking the stoma, the trabecular stoma here is being blocked by the iris. In this case, if you do the bleb needling, the bleb will not function because the iris is blocking. So whenever you have a failed bleb, always do gonoscopy to see why the bleb has failed. It is because of the episcleral fibrosis, or whether there is any blood clot or any lens matter or the iris blocking the stoma. In this case, if you really want to do bleb needling, what you need to do, first you put a visco in the antechamber, use the iris spatula and remove this iris. Then only you can do a bleb needling. So in this case, gonoscopy is extremely important to try to find the cause of failure of the bleb. The last question, again, which is often discussed in this presentation, a lot of people will have a ASOCT in their clinic or a UBM, like we have a UBM and ASOCT both in our clinic. And they will do ASOCT and say this patient has a narrow angle, we should do a PI. Never, never do this. There are multiple articles in this article, and I've quoted this European Glaucoma Society 2020 publication, where they very clearly mentioned antechamber imaging cannot replace gonoscopy. If you want to decide whether to do PI or not, it is only and only based on gonoscopy. Anterior segment OCT can be a supplement. For example, I gave you certain example where UBM can help. But I can't decide to do PI based on a UBM. I have to do gonoscopy. UBM can tell me why the angle is closed, whether it's a pupillary block or there is some irises behind. But the way you can see a gonoscopy 360 degree, the dynamic angle structure, you can see synechia, you can see patchy pigmentation. These things you can never see on an ASOCT. But to conclude, how to do gonoscopy, like cataract surgery. Initially, when we started doing cataract surgery, we had runaway axis, we had premature sections, we had nucleus drop, but we never stopped doing cataract surgery. We continued doing, and now all of us are doing cataract surgery. We are doing anatopical, we are doing difficult cases. Similarly, gonioscopy, you just need to practice. In some cases, you may not be able to detect the structure properly. The patient may be uncooperative, but don't stop it. Keep doing it, especially for young doctors, young ophthalmologists. Say at least in every day you do 2 gonioscopies. After 30 days, you have done, if you do 2 gonioscopy every OPD, you will see after 1 month you have done at least 50. After 2 months, you have done 100. I'm telling you, 100 is actually enough to get comfortable with the technique. And then as you do more and more cases, you will keep, and learning is an ongoing process. Never a day will come when you will think you will master of gonioscopy or a master of cataract surgery or a master of glaucoma. We'll keep learning till the end of our life. And this is a very good website. You can use that. I think this is something we all should go and try. A lot of time we have discussion whether gonioscope, the price is say 20,000-25,000, whether I should purchase a Indian one, which is say 5,000 rupees by Madhu, and there are other companies also. I have used them. There is no harm. You can very well use an Indian gonioscope. That is also will give you the same information. Only thing, if you're using a Voke or an ocular, the polish will last for say 15-20 years. If you're using an Indian, the polish will last for 3-4 years. But you can very well use an Indian gonioscope, but please do a gonioscopy. So gonioscopy is essential for every patient, at least for all glaucoma patients. Is still the gold standard for angle evaluation. And over time, please try to master indentation gonioscopy. It's really, really useful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for that informative talk. It was really, it really covered all the aspects of gonioscopy, how to do and how to identify all the structures. So before I go to Akbar sir for his expert opinion, I'll just like to add, sir, I have used the 4-mirror gonio lens, which comes with a flange in Voke. So the thing you are telling that initially, if somebody is uncomfortable with moving of eye with that 4-mirror, that flange thing comes with a contact lens. So it gives a proper stability as well as the benefit of 4-mirror. So that is a very good thing to start. I started with that, so still I am using that only, and it's
Which model you have used? Which model you have used?
Voke 4-mirror, the Sussman type with a flange. A hard contact lens is embedded behind the lens. So Akbar sir, your comment on the presentation and on gonioscopy, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Nilesh, for giving me the opportunity. First, about that lens which you're talking about, Nilesh. Dr. Manish, this is actually a G4 laser lens, in which what you have is you have a 4-mirror gonio lens. On top of it, you have a glass contact lens. As Nilesh mentioned, it is very good to have a very good stability. But the only negative side of it is that you cannot do indentation. For indentation to happen, the diameter of the gonio lens should be less than cornea diameter. Only then you can press the central cornea so that aqueous will rush into the angle. It will push iris behind and the angle would open if at all it had to open. तो वो बहुत ही अच्छा एक लेंस है जिसको कि यूज कर सकते हैं, लेकिन अपोजिशनल को साइनिकी से क्लोजर करने में उसमें थोड़ा सा मुश्किल होगा. Again, you can do it by your moving the eye up or down and asking the patient to see towards the lens. You can do it, but at any point of time, I think a proper Sussman type or Posner type of 4-mirror is better. That is one thing. I would really congratulate Dr. Manish sir. Excellent presentation, I would tell you. It was, हम लोग हिंदी में कहते हैं मक्खन. कोई चीज अगर बहुत अच्छा लगता है तो हमारा एक डायलॉग है मक्खन. तो it was very nice. मेरा अपना जो ऑब्जर्वेशन है गोनियोस्कोपी लर्न करने में, जो एक्चुअली मैं जब पीजी डेज में था तो मेरा 1 महीने का एलवीपी ट्रेनिंग हुआ था, तो वहां पर वी कुड लर्न गोनियोस्कोपी. तो गोनियोस्कोपी में जो मुझे चैलेंजेस लगे शुरू में, और स्पेशली ड्यूरिंग प्रेजेंटेशन में जो चैलेंजेस लगे, अमिताभ सर, रुंगटा सर, जैन सर, प्लीज आप लोग इसको बताइएगा, ऐसा आप लोगों को लगता है या नहीं. मुझे यही लगा कि जब भी मैं गोनियोस्कोपी का कोई पिक्चर देखता हूँ, चाहे वो कांस्की हो, चाहे कोई भी प्रेजेंटेशन हो, उसमें सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम ये होता है कि बहुत सारे कन्वेक्स रिंग्स दिखाई देते हैं. मल्टीपल कन्वेक्स रिंग्स, बहुत सारे रिफ्लेक्शंस। तो अगर आप गोनियोस्कोपी को बुक से या किसी पीपीटी से देखेंगे तो आपको बहुत डिफिकल्ट लगेगा, बहुत सारे रिफ्लेक्शंस दिखेंगे, बिकॉज सी इफ यू आर डूइंग अ 4 मिरर गोनियोस्कोपी, इट हैड टू बी मल्टीपल रिफ्लेक्शंस। कोई लाइट किधर से एंटर कर रहा है, कहाँ पर रिफ्लेक्ट कर रहा है, फिर कॉर्निया के ऊपर से एक लाइट है, उसके अंदर से एक लाइट है। तो अगर आप उसको देखेंगे तो आपको बहुत सारे रिफ्लेक्शंस दिखेंगे। इसलिए गोनियोस्कोपी एक्चुअली बुक से सीखना बहुत बहुत डिफिकल्ट है कंपेयर टू ऑन पेशेंट। जब आप ऑन पेशेंट जाएंगे तो आपको ये सारी चीजें आप कंट्रोल कर सकते हैं। जैसे मनीष सर ने शुरू में ही बताया कि आप अपने लाइट को जो है, रूम के लाइट को कम कर दीजिए, और जो आपका स्लिट लैंप का जो बीम है उसको 1:1 या 2:2 रखिए, बिल्कुल थिन रखिए, तो उससे मेजॉरिटी रिफ्लेक्शंस कट ऑफ हो जाएंगे। लेकिन जब कोई पिक्चर लिया जाता है तो इसमें मल्टीपल रिफ्लेक्शंस दिखते हैं, और यही सबसे बड़ा कंफ्यूजिंग पॉइंट है। अगर आप कांस्की का भी जो ट्रेडमार्क पिक्चर है जो आप देखेंगे गोनियोस्कोपी का, जो कि टेरेंट से लिया हुआ है, टेरेंट का जो डायग्रामेटिक रिप्रेजेंटेशन है, उसमें इतने सारे लाइंस है, कॉन्वेक्स लाइंस है, कि पता नहीं चलता एक बिगनर को कि इसमें से कौन एंगल है। दीपक सर, क्या मैं सही बोल रहा हूँ? मेरा डाउट जो था वो आप लोगों का भी डाउट है? रुंगटा सर, जैन सर?
नहीं, वो अभी तक है।
अभी तक है ना सर? हाँ हाँ, मैं समझ रहा हूँ सर, क्योंकि मुझे ये सबसे बड़ा डिफिकल्टी हुआ था जब मैं शुरू किया था गोनियोस्कोपी। इतना लाइंस होता है, वो कॉन्वेक्स लाइंस, रिफ्लेक्टिव लाइंस, की समझ में नहीं आता कि इसमें एंगल है कौन। तो सर उसका एक सिंपल ट्रिक है, आप ऊपर से नीचे नहीं आइए, नीचे से ऊपर जाइए। आप आइरिस को पहले पहचानिए, एवरीबॉडी विल अंडरस्टैंड आइरिस। आइरिस कोई भी पहचान लेगा। एंगल में आप सबसे पहले आइरिस को पकड़िए सर, और आइरिस से ऊपर की तरफ जाइए। एटलीस्ट फॉर द बिगनिंग टाइम, जब हम लोग शुरू कर रहे हैं, तो आप पहले आइरिस को देखिए। अगर आप आइरिस को देख रहे हैं, उसके ऊपर स्क्लेरा रहेगा, स्क्लेरा बिल्कुल व्हाइट रहेगा। अगर आप इस व्हाइट और इस ब्राउन एरिया के बीच में कोई डिफरेंट स्ट्रक्चर्स देख रहे हैं या कोई डिफरेंट कलर देख रहे हैं, जैसे बीच में अगर आप, am I audible?
या ऑडिबल।
तो मैं ये कह रहा था कि आप आइरिस को ट्रेस कीजिए। मैं बिगनिंग की टाइम कह रहा हूँ, मास्टर्स लाइक मनीष सर कैन डू गोनियोस्कोपी विद क्लोज आई।
आई थिंक आई एग्री ये बात से, बट वन थिंग जो सर रुंगटा सर मैं भी बोलूंगा कि वी हैव टू डू इट। जैसे अब कैटरेक्ट सर्जरी, फर्स्ट दिन तो रेक्सिस हम लोग सर्कुलर नहीं बना लिए, भागा रेक्सिस, कभी छोटा हुआ कभी बड़ा हुआ, पर छोड़ तो नहीं दिए। हम लोग गोनियोस्कोपी छोड़ क्यों दे रहे हैं? 2 गोनियोस्कोपी किए, मजा नहीं आया, समझ में नहीं आया, छोड़ दिए
सर। उसका तो एक और एक बड़ा रीजन है सर, एक बड़ा रीजन है कि कैटरेक्ट सर्जरी बहुत ही ग्रेटिफाइंग है। उसका जो मजा है, मुझे नहीं लगता है पूरे लाइफ टाइम में कभी किसी को आता है। गोनियोस्कोपी जैसे ही लेंस डालते हैं ना,
ग्रेटिफाइंग
है सारा लाइट
पेशेंट पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से भी, और हम लोग को सरवाइव करने के लिए भी बहुत ग्रेटिफाइंग है।
हाँ मतलब सर,
बट एक चीज वही है कि अब जो
वही है। मैं
नहीं,
ये कह रहा
लेकिन
था
ग्लोकोमा के बारे में भी एक चीज है कि अगर आप ग्लोकोमा केसेस को आइडेंटिफाई करते हैं तो आपको बहुत से ग्लोकोमा केसेस मिलेंगे, और अगर नहीं आइडेंटिफाई करते हैं तो आपको ये लगेगा कहाँ ग्लोकोमा केसेस है,
कहाँ है। बिल्कुल
ये चीज है।
और वो आपके लिए बहुत satisfying है।
eyes do not see what the mind do not see। तो वो चीज है, हम लोगों पर भी लागू होती है, हम लोग मिस करते हैं बहुत ज्यादा।
एक बात हम भी कहेंगे मनीष, वो ये है कि कैटरैक्ट के बारे में है कि सिखलाने वाले लोग भरे पड़े हैं। जहाँ गोनियोस्कोपी की बात होती है तो कोई सिखलाने वाला मिलता नहीं है, तो सीखे कहाँ से?
नहीं,
यही कारण है कि आदमी सीखता कम है।
नहीं, वही तो ये बोल रहे हैं ना दोनों आदमी की, है ना, आप लोग मतलब पेशेंट पे करना शुरू कर दीजिए, बस एंगल कोशिश कीजिए कि देखें।
40
सर मैं क्या कह रहा हूँ कि गोनियोस्कोपी शुरू कर रहे हैं जब हम, तो हम लोग ये भूल जाए कि हम ओपन एंगल देख रहे हैं या क्लोज एंगल देख रहे हैं। मैं सिर्फ बिगनिंग की बात कर रहा हूँ। बिगनिंग के बाद जैसे डॉक्टर मनीष सर ने कहा कि हम एक मायोपाई ले लें, -3 का पावर है, डीप एंगल है। अगर आपको ये कोई पेशेंट दिखता है, आप उसमें लेंस लगाते हैं, आप पहले सिर्फ ये पहचानिए कि स्ट्रक्चर कौन सा है। हम लोग ओपन और क्लोज की बात बाद में करेंगे, जब हम लोग 50-100 गोनियोस्कोपी कर लें। सबसे पहले वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड कि स्ट्रक्चर क्या है। जब स्ट्रक्चर पहचानने जाते हैं तो मैं वही कह रहा था कि इतना रिफ्लेक्शंस है कि पता नहीं चल पाता है कौन सा क्या है। आप सबसे पहले आइरिस को पकड़िए, नीचे से ऊपर की तरफ चलिए। जब आप उस मिरर में देख रहे हैं, चाहे वो 4 मिरर हो चाहे 1 मिरर हो, मैं भी मनीष सर से एग्री करूंगा, 4 मिरर इज वेरी वेरी कन्वीनियंट। एक कारण था मेरा पीजी में गोनियोस्कोपी छोड़ने का कि जब मैं उसमें विस्को जेल लगाता था तो वो इतना स्टिकी, इतना चटचट हो जाता था कि मुझे भी बहुत कम्बरसम होता था और पेशेंट को भी कम्बरसम होता था। 4 मिरर इज वेरी गुड। तो आप 4 मिरर लगाने के बाद आप आइरिस को सब लोग पहचान लेंगे और स्क्लेरा को भी सब लोग पहचान लेंगे। अब आप आइरिस और स्क्लेरा के जंक्शन पे आइए, किसी भी एक पॉइंट को पकड़ लीजिए, उस आइरिस और शुरू में आपको जरूरी भी नहीं है कि आप 2x2 का रखें लाइट या 4x4 का रखें, आप जिसमें कंफर्टेबल है। अगर कोई एंगल वाइड ओपन है तो वो 4x4 में भी क्लोज नहीं होगा, मतलब अदरवाइज नहीं होगा। अगर एक वाइड एंगल ओपन है तो आप उसको 4x4 से भी देखिए। सबसे पहला काम जो है वो एंगल के स्ट्रक्चर्स को पहचानना है। अगर आप एक बार 30, 40, 50 केसेस में आपने स्ट्रक्चर को पहचान लिया तो फिर उसके बाद आएगा कि कौन सा क्लोज है कौन सा ओपन। आप आइरिस को पहचानिए और स्क्लेरा को पहचानिए, उस दोनों का जो जंक्शन पॉइंट है, जंक्शन पॉइंट पे आपको अपने आप धीरे धीरे दिखने लगेगा कि पिगमेंटेशन है, कहीं पर आपको एक व्हाइट बैंड दिखेगा। सबसे कंसिस्टेंट पॉइंट जो गोनियोस्कोपी का है, जो कि बार बार दिख सकता है, रिपीटेबल है, वो स्क्लेरल स्पर है। स्पर को अगर आपने पहचानना शुरू कर दिया तो उसके ऊपर जो है वो पीटीएम है। वेज बनाना शुरू में बहुत डिफिकल्ट है, मुझे लगता है कि मैं अपने फेलोशिप में 6 महीने
ट्राई मत करिए सर, वेज का ट्राई, वो जरूरत भी बहुत कम पड़ता है।
जरूरत भी नहीं है भाई। मैं कह रहा था सर कि एक अच्छे बीम से पहले सबसे पहले स्ट्रक्चर पहचानना शुरू करना है। आइरिस से जाइए, आइरिस का जहां पर इंसर्शन खत्म हो रहा है वहां से स्क्लेरा शुरू हो रहा है, उस एरिया को एम्फेसाइज करना है, उसको आप देखना शुरू कीजिए। और वहां पर आपको रिफ्लेक्शंस कम मिलेंगे। जब इसका पिक्चर लिया जाता है तो रिफ्लेक्शंस बहुत ज्यादा रहते हैं, जो आपको अभी फोटोज में दिख रहे हैं या कोई भी फोटो में देखेंगे। तो जब आप गोनियोस्कोपी का फोटो लेंगे तो चूंकि उसमें 4 मिरर्स है या 3 मिरर्स है तो मल्टीपल रिफ्लेक्शंस आएगा फोटो में, लेकिन जब आप उसको पर्सनली देखेंगे तो उतना रिफ्लेक्शंस नहीं रहेगा, सब तरफ का लाइट बंद रहेगा, सिर्फ आपको वो एरिया दिखेगा जो कि स्क्लेरा और आइरिस के बीच में है। उसको पहचानना शुरू कीजिए। 5 से 6 केसेस में आप लोग पहचानना शुरू कर जाएंगे कि ये पीटीएम है। कभी कभी कंफ्यूजन होगा। एज मनीषा से, कभी भी मास्टरी लेवल अचीव करना इम्पॉसिबल है। वी आर ऑलवेज ऑन द लर्निंग प्रोसेस, जितना देखेंगे उतना सीखेंगे। बट जैसे सर मैंने उसमें भी कहा था
सर, अगर आप सिंसियरली ट्राई करना चाहते हैं, जैसे मैंने वो वेबसाइट दिया gonioscopy.org, आप एक बार जाइए, उसमें वैरायटीज ऑफ ओपन एंगल, सारे एंगल्स का फोटो है। आप वो फोटोज को एक बार देखिए, क्योंकि हर चीज के लिए थोड़ा सा प्रिपरेशन लेना पड़ता है। एक बार वो फोटोज देखिए, आपके हर ओपीडी में कोई 2 मिडिल एज मायोप तो आता ही होगा, -3, -4। एकदम यंग में क्या होता है, क्योंकि नॉन पिगमेंटेड होता है तो थोड़ा कंफ्यूजन ज्यादा होता है, और बहुत ओल्ड में एंगल क्लोजर ज्यादा मिलेगा। मिडिल एज में थोड़ा देख लीजिए, थोड़ा डीप मायोप है, जस्ट आप देखिए। समझ में नहीं भी आए तभी भी रोज 2 गोनोस्कोपी हम करेंगे, चाहे समझ में आए या ना आए। 1:50 जब हो जाएगा आपको खुद समझ में आने लगेगा। आप छोड़िए मत।
बिल्कुल सर, मनीष सर मुझसे एग्री करेंगे कि मुझे पता नहीं सर, मैं जब फेलोशिप करने गया तो जो मैं देखता था मुझे लगता था पता नहीं मैं कभी ये सब देख पाऊंगा कि नहीं देख पाऊंगा। बाय द एंड ऑफ फर्स्ट ईयर थाउजेंड्स ऑफ गोनियोस्कोपी हो गया, उसके बाद बहुत मुश्किल से कुछ मिस होता है। तो बिल्कुल ये ऑन लर्निंग प्रोसेस है। अच्छा सर, मैं एक सर्वे भी लेना चाहूंगा जो हमारे सारे अभी मेंबर्स हैं यहाँ पर, कि हम लोग पिछली बार पेरीमेट्री और फील्ड पे डिस्कस किए थे और हम सबसे रिक्वेस्ट किए थे कि हम लोग को फील्ड करना है, करवाना है और उसके ऊपर हम लोगों को इंटरप्रेट करना है। तो सर उसको हम लोग कर रहे हैं या इनर्शिया अभी भी है?
नहीं कर रहे हैं,
हो गया
फील्ड वाला तो काफी लोग कर रहे हैं।
हाँ, तो सर अगर ये इनर्शिया फील्ड में हटा है तो ये इनर्शिया गोनियोस्कोपी में हटना चाहिए। आप कीजिए, और जो मनीष सर ने वो एक बनाया है एक साइन करके कि हमको ऊपर वाले क्वाड्रेंट में क्या दिख रहा है, बगल वाले नेसल में, टेम्पोरल में, सिर्फ लिखिए आपको क्या दिख रहा है। डोंट वरी, शुरू में हो सकता है आप आइरिस लिखिए, लेकिन आप लिखिए वहां पे कि आपको आइरिस दिख रहा है, स्क्लेरा दिख रहा है, लेकिन आप लिखिए उस चीज को। उसके बाद धीरे धीरे आप खुद देखिएगा, 15-20 केसेस होने के बाद आपको सब कुछ धीरे धीरे दिखने लगेगा। मतलब मेरा यही रिक्वेस्ट है जो मनीष सर भी कह रहे हैं कि जस्ट डू इट, इनर्शिया को छोड़ना है और उसको करना शुरू करना है। एक ड्रॉप पाराकेन का और एक 4 मिरर लेंस, और मैं बता रहा हूं कि ये बहुत ही प्रॉफिटेबल भी है। ये इतना प्रॉफिटेबल है कि अगर आपने हर ओपीडी में एक ऐसा ऑक्लूडेबल एंगल कर लिया जिसको कि पीआई की जरूरत है, तो इट कैन ऐड यू, अगर आप मंथली सोचिए तो इट कैन गिव यू वेरी गुड रेवेन्यू आल्सो।
इनिशियली अगर आपको लग रहा है सर, तो आप 1 मिरर 2 मिरर से स्टार्ट करिए। इंडियन जो 1 मिरर 2 मिरर 2,500-3,000 हजार में मिल जाएगा, मैक्सिमम 4,000 में मिल जाएगा। 1 मिरर 2 मिरर का एडवांटेज है कि आई का मूवमेंट कम होता है, आई फिक्स रहता है, तो आप एक स्ट्रक्चर को अच्छे से अप्रिशिएट कर सकते हैं, टाइम दे सकते हैं। 4 मिरर में क्या होता है, क्योंकि आई कॉन्स्टेंटली मूव कर रहा है, उसमें फिक्स नहीं होता, तो ज्यादा दिक्कत होता है, हिल रहा है। जैसे जैसे आप किसी को कैटरेक्ट सर्जरी टॉपिकल में स्टार्ट करा दीजिए,
ब्लॉक और टॉपिकल, यस।
तो आप पहले बोले भाई हमको नहीं करना है, आप उसको 100-150 ब्लॉक में कराइए, फिर टॉपिकल में कराइए, तो ठीक है। तो वही फर्क है। तो एक इंडियन खरीद लीजिए, यूज करिए, एक बार 400-500 हो गया, आपको लगा हाँ स्ट्रक्चर आ रहा है, तो एक 4 मिरर ले लीजिए। 4 मिरर का एडवांटेज होगा कि टाइम बचेगा, आप ज्यादा करेंगे, फिर इंडेंटेशन शुरू करेंगे। शुरू में पहला 2-3 महीना हमको बस एंजॉय करना है, बस देखना है। क्या देखना है, मतलब ये फ्रेंच मूवी देख रहे हैं, क्या समझ में नहीं आ रहा मगर देख रहे हैं, ठीक है, अच्छा है। 2-3 महीने बाद फिर मजा नहीं लगेगा।
हेलो डॉक्टर मनीष।
हमको छोड़ना नहीं सर।
हाँ हेलो।
और जैसे मैंने कहा, लर्निंग तो सर एकदम लाइफ लॉन्ग चलने वाला है, वो कभी ऐसा नहीं है कि अब हमको, कई बार ऐसा होता है कि आपको यू हैव टू कीप लर्निंग, तो वो कोई इशू नहीं सर, बस करते हैं।
अमित सर क्वेश्चन है,
क्या बोलिए?
Dr. Amit Singh wanted
नहीं, आई डोंट हैव एनी क्वेश्चन। मैं यही बोलना चाहता हूँ, द थिंग विच आई वांट टू से दैट कि सर स्टार्ट करने में सीधे इंटरनेशनल मैच खेलने से पहले टेस्ट खेला जाए, तो मेरे विचार से 2 मिरर बेस्ट है। पहले आप आइडेंटिफाई किया जाए स्ट्रक्चर, जब आप आइडेंटिफाई करने लगेंगे स्ट्रक्चर, तो फिर आपके लिए इजी हो जाएगा। 4 मिरर 2 मिरर ये ज्यादा मायने नहीं करता है। मायने क्या करता है कि आप किसमें कंफर्टेबल है और किस तरह से आप इंटरप्रेट कर रहे हैं पेशेंट के फाइंडिंग्स को, वो सबसे ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है। बाकी टाइम कंस्ट्रेंट तो जस्ट सेकेंडरी है। हम पेशेंट देखते हैं ग्लोकोमा का, 5 मिनट आराम से बैठ जाइए, आराम से देखिए, आपको एकदम सब स्ट्रक्चर समझ में आने लगेगा धीरे धीरे, ग्रेजुअली। और सेकंड थिंग, मैं सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट बात बोलना चाहता हूँ कि एक बुक आई है तनु दादा की, गोनियोस्कोपी की, बहुत अच्छी बुक है। उसमें खाली इमेजेस है, आप उस इमेजेस को देखिए और कंपेयर कीजिए। हमको नहीं लगता है, देखिए हमको नहीं लगता है गोनियोस्कोपी कोई सिखला सकता है या हम लोग किसी से सीख सकते हैं। आप करिएगा, आप सीखिएगा, और इसमें कोई आर्ट एंड साइंस सेकेंडरी है। मेन है आप कितने अच्छे से करते हैं और फाइंडिंग्स को कोरिलेट करते हैं, बाकी सब सेकेंडरी है सर। बाकी आपको इंटरनेट में, किताब में 100 फाइंडिंग्स मिलेगा, लेकिन तनुज दादा की बुक है वेरी सुपर बुक। मैं कहूँगा एक बार आप लोग देखिए, और अपना हम, बल्कि मैं खुद रोज देखता हूँ, तो बेटर है सर। और ग्लोकोमा पेशेंट को टाइम देने से यू विल अप्रिशिएट द फाइंडिंग्स। देयर इज नथिंग मोर कि स्किल लेवल्स इंप्रूव डे बाय डे, नथिंग मोर देन दैट।
और एक चीज है सर, कुछ बॉर्डर लाइन आईज होते हैं, जैसे आप इंफीरियरली देख रहे हैं, आपको थोड़ा सा पोस्टीरियर टेबिकुलर में लग रहा है कि दिखा नहीं दिखा, सुपीरियर एंगल में गए तो लग रहा है एंटीरियर टेबिकुलर दिख रहा है। तो कभी कभी होता है एक ही आई में, इट्स नॉट अ वाइड ओपन, नॉट अ क्लोज्ड, एक बीच का है। अब आपकी लाइट के ऊपर कभी कभी लगा कि दिखा, अभी लगा नहीं दिख रहा, या थोड़ा आंख हिला तो लग रहा है दिखा, या कि एक एंगल में दिख रहा है पीटीएम, एक में एटीएम दिख रहा है, किसी में लग रहा है, आदमी कंफ्यूज होता है। वैसे केसेस इवन अभी भी कभी कभी कंफ्यूज कर देते हैं कि एक बार देख के लग रहा है यार तो पीआई कर देना चाहिए, फिर एक हफ्ता बाद रीअसेस कर लेते हैं। तो ये मत सोचिए कि अगर किसी में कंफ्यूजन हो रहा है तो कोई नहीं, हर आदमी को कंफ्यूजन होता है, कितना भी बड़ा फैको सर्जन हो जाए, रेंट उसको भी होता है। कोई ऐसा नहीं बोल सकता कि हमारा कभी कोई कॉम्प्लिकेशन हुआ ही नहीं। तो इसीलिए आपको जो वाइड ओपन है, मायोप्स है, इनिशियली 100-150 जब देख लेंगे, स्ट्रक्चर्स आस्ते आस्ते कंफर्टेबल हो जाएगा, आराम से 1 मिनर 2 मिनर यूज करिए। 4 मिरर का एडवांटेज आपको क्विक कर देगा प्रोसेस, और थोड़ा और कुछ एडवांटेज मिलेगा, पर वो बाद में करेंगे, पहले स्टार्ट तो करें।
सही बात, सही बात।
एक टाइम
हेलो अमित बॉस।
हाँ हाय अकबर।
हेलो, कैसे हैं आप?
जो भी करना
मैं अमित बॉस की बात
चाहिए
से बिल्कुल अग्री कर रहा हूँ, क्योंकि
अनडायलेटेड
तनुज दादा जो बुक है उसका एक और जो
इज देयर एनी कंडीशन जिसमें कि डायलेटेड में भी करना चाहिए, ऐसा तो कुछ नहीं है?
जैसे मैं बता रहा हूँ, कभी कभी क्या होता है कि पेशेंट हमारे रेटिना कलीग ने देखा, उनको लगा कि ये स्टेरॉइड इंड्यूस्ड ग्लूकोमा है या पोस्ट आरडी सर्जरी ग्लूकोमा है, उनका डायलेट किया हुआ मेरे पास आया, तो वो पेशेंट को हम लोग डायलेटेड में गोनोस्कोपी किए और हमको सिलरी बॉडी तक दिख रहा है, तो हम एज्यूम कर लेंगे कि अनडायलेटेड में भी वो ओपन ही होगा। जनरली अगर डायलेटेड में ओपन है तो आप 95% एज्यूम कर लीजिए कि वो अनडायलेटेड में भी ओपन होगा। वेरी रेयरली ऐसा कभी होगा कि अनडायलेटेड में क्लोज था और डायलेट करके ओपन हो गया। वो थ्योरेटिकल पॉसिबिलिटी है, प्रैक्टिकली वो नहीं होता है। तो अगर आप डायलेट करके देख रहे हैं कि स्क्लेरस पर सिलेरी बॉडी दिख रहा है तो आपको ओपन एंगल उसको लिख सकते हैं, पर प्रैक्टिकली आइडियली आपको अनडायलेटेड में ही करना चाहिए। और डिस्क इवैल्यूएशन जैसे बोलते हैं बेस्ट डायलेटेड में ही होता है। अब अनडायलेटेड में समझ सकते हैं, लेकिन आपको प्रॉपरली अगर देखना है आरएनएफएल और डिस्क हेमरेज और अर्ली नॉच तो आपको डायलेट ही करना होगा। अनडायलेटेड में आपको मिस होगा फाइंड।
Sure, Dr. Manish, I want to ask one question. Hello?
बोलिए सर।
Hello?
Yes,
मैं
sir.
बोल रहा था, one thing कि रूम का illumination है, generally for everyone पर I think it is difficult to मतलब switch off करो light, gonioscopy करो, ये थोड़ा सा difficult होता है. How much it matters? Does it matter much और चलेगा?
Again, see what I have done. I have trained my staff कि जब हम गोनी उठाए तो लाइट ऑफ कर दो, तो उससे क्या एक रूटीन हो जाता है। हालांकि एक वाइड ओपन एंगल जिसमें सिलेरी बॉडी दिख रहा है या इवन स्यूडोफिकिक आई वगैरह में इतना मैटर नहीं करेगा, लेकिन अगर ये बॉर्डर लाइन केस है जो जैसे मैंने कहा कि उसमें ये मैटर कर सकता है। अगर रूम लाइट ब्राइट है तो उसमें ये मैटर कर सकता है।
सर मनीष सर, नेत्रालय में 4-5 स्टाफ है तो एक आदमी लाइट ऑफ करेगा।
नहीं एक ही स्टाफ है, एक ही स्टाफ, 4-5 स्टाफ नहीं, सिर्फ 1 स्टाफ।
जस्ट ऑन अ लाइटर नोट, क्या कर सकते हैं अमित बॉस की जो स्लिट लैंप है ना, उसमें आप अपना एक स्विच रख सकते हैं लाइट ऑन एंड लाइट ऑफ का रूम का।
वो भी कर
तो मैंने ऐसे कर रखा है कि सारा कनेक्शंस मेरे पास है, स्लिट लैंप के नीचे एक वो स्विच लटका हुआ है जो कि ऑफ हो जाएगा। और मैं बिल्कुल 100% अग्री करता हूँ डॉक्टर मनीष से कि अगर आपका बॉर्डर लाइन केस है और रूम का लाइट इल्यूमिनेटेड है तो ये मिस होने का चांसेस काफी है।
मैं बता, जब हम लोग शंकर नेत्रालय में सर थे तो रूम में कोई स्टाफ नहीं रहता था, खुद ही स्टेन करो, सभी खुद ही करना है। तो जहां बैठते थे उसके बगल में एक स्विच था, उसको ऑफ करिए, स्ट्रीट लैंप के अलावा बाकी पूरा रूम ऑफ होता था। उसको जैसे इंडिरेक्ट के लिए भी तो आपको लाइट ऑफ करना पड़ता है, इंडिरेक्ट करने के लिए तो वो ऑफ करते थे, गोनोस्कोपी करते थे, ऑन करते थे, डायलेट करके जब पेशेंट वापस आता था इंडिरेक्ट के टाइम उसको फिर ऑफ करते थे। तो वो अभी हमारे पास
किसी के साथ एक स्टाफ होता है,
स्टेन कर देता है, थोड़ा काम इजी हो जाता है।
मैं तनुज दादा बुक के बारे में बता रहा था, अमित बॉस ने नाम लिया, बहुत ही अच्छी बुक है। और सबसे अच्छी बात यह है सर कि वो सारे इंडियन साइड पे, ये बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट है क्योंकि वेस्टर्न आई का जो एंगल है और उसका जो पिगमेंटेशन है वो बहुत डिफरेंट है इंडियन आई से। तो मैं रियली मतलब मैं भी रिकमेंड करूंगा अगर आप वो बुक मिल सकती है, गोनियोस्कोपी बाय तनुज दादा, बहुत ही अच्छी बुक है और इंडियन आइज के लिए बहुत अच्छी है।
तनुज दादा का एक एटलस भी, वीडियो एटलस भी था, मैंने एक बार देखा है।
Along with that you get a CD also.
बहुत अच्छी है, तो सर के पास ह्यूज कलेक्शन है वीडियोस का, उनका तो प्रेजेंटेशन में से वीडियोस ही रहता है। बहुत अच्छे वीडियो, बहुत अच्छे। तो आई थिंक एक करना शुरू करें, फिर हम लोग एक बार बैठेंगे 3 महीने बाद कि कितना कर लिए।
क्योंकि एक बार में नहीं होने वाला है, वेरिफिकेटरी भी और ये भी एक बार में नहीं होने वाला है।
हम तो शुरू कर रहे हैं अब, लेकिन पक्का है।
अमिताभ सर,
हाँ
सर पेरीमेट्री कैसा चल रहा है सर, फील्ड कैसा चल रहा है?
हम तो यही भेजते हैं जहाँ संजीव बाबू पहले थे, नारायण मेडिकल कॉलेज में।
बहुत अच्छा सर।
हाँ बाबू बोलिए।
लेकिन खरीदेंगे, हम सोच रहे थे, लेकिन तब तक कोविड शुरू हो गया ना, तो अब लेकिन लेंगे।
रुकता सर एक बार वर्कशॉप कराइए आरा में।
नहीं, ये तो
आजकल जो छोटा वाला फील्ड से
पहले भी किए हुए हैं वर्कशॉप, लेकिन ये कोविड खत्म हो तब ना। डॉक्टर मनीष तो पहले भी आए हुए हैं, आ रहा है हम लोग को सिखाने के लिए।
हाँ, हम लोग एक
ग्लोकोमा पे वर्कशॉप था,
ARC वाला हुआ था सर, ग्लोकोमा में
ARC
गोनियोस्कोपी। आई वाज आल्सो देयर, आई रिमेंबर।
एक
सर मेरा फॉर्मल मुलाकात आपसे तभी हुआ था गोटुंगटा
सर।
फॉर्मली में तभी
ATM और PTM में जो पिगमेंटेशन का डिफरेंस होता है, तो जैसे यंग एज में पिगमेंटेशन कम रहेगा, ओल्डर एज में पिगमेंटेशन ज्यादा रहेगा, बट पिगमेंटेशन एंगल का वो भी तो पैथोग्नोमोनिक है कि ग्लोकोमा है अगर ज्यादा पिगमेंटेशन है तो। लेकिन अदरवाइज थोड़ा सा उसको लेके भी कंफ्यूजन होता है कि है ना, मैंने हम लोग PTM को पहचानते हैं पिगमेंटेशन से,
सर एक्चुअली पिगमेंटेशन से अगर हम लोग एंगल पहचानेंगे तो शुरू में हम लोग ये काम कर सकते हैं नॉर्मल एंगल्स में, लेकिन बाद में ये दिक्कत हो सकती है। अगर मान लीजिए किसी भी वजह से पेशेंट अगर पिगमेंट डिस्पर्स कर रहा है, चाहे कारण कोई भी रहा हो, मान लीजिए चोट लगा हो या मान लीजिए पिगमेंटरी ग्लोकोमा, कोई भी कारण से अगर आइरिस से पिगमेंट रिलीज हो रहा है तो वो पिगमेंट कहीं भी जा सकता है। अगर वो पिगमेंट श्वाल्बेज लाइन को कवर कर दिया तो उसको हम लोग पीटीएम समझ लेंगे। तो इसलिए हम लोगों को सिर्फ पिगमेंट से नहीं देखना है, और सबसे कंसिस्टेंट जो लैंडमार्क है वो सर स्क्लेरल स्पर है, जो कि व्हाइटिश होता है, और वो बहुत ही कंसिस्टेंट फाइंडिंग है। आप आइरिस को देखिए, आइरिस से स्क्लेरा की तरफ जाइए और एक व्हाइट बैंड आपको दिखेगा ओपन एंगल में, आराम से दिखेगा, और उसको जो मानेंगे हम लोग स्पर, उसके जस्ट ऊपर जो पिगमेंटेशन शुरू हो रहा है स्पर के जस्ट ऊपर, वो पीटीएम है जी।
ये गोनियोस्कोपी से थोड़ा हट के, जैसे ट्रॉमा के केसेस में कभी कभी हाइपोटोनी हो जाती है, हाउ टू मैनेज?
हाइपोटोनी का कारण देखना पड़ेगा क्या है। कभी कभी इवन यूवेटिस कैन कॉज हाइपोटोनी, समटाइम्स अंदर कोई आरडी है कि नहीं उससे हाइपोटोनी हो सकता है, समटाइम्स साइक्लोडायलिसिस क्लेफ्ट है उससे हाइपोटोनी हो सकता है। तो वी हैव टू फाइंड द कॉज। अगर यूवेटिस वगैरह है तो स्टेरॉइड से वो इंप्रूव कर जाता है। साइक्लोडायलिसिस क्लेफ्ट अगर है देन अगेन इनिशियली वी ट्राई यूजिंग एट्रोपिन एंड ऑल, उस पे नहीं हो तो कभी कभी क्रायोथेरेपी भी करते हैं, और लास्ट मेजर होता है एक्चुअली सुचरिंग दी क्लेफ्ट। बट हम लोगों ने 2-3 केसेस में क्रायो किया है, वो अच्छा काम करता है क्रायो।
सर डॉक्टर मनीष, हेलो हेलो,
हाँ सुनाई पड़ रहा है सर।
हेलो,
बोलिए बोलिए ना।
अच्छा ये पैची पिगमेंटेशन ऑफ श्वाल्बेज लाइन इन इंडियन कंटेक्स्ट, एंड क्या ये मतलब इंडियन कंटेक्स्ट में अप्रोक्सीमेटली मान सकते हैं कि शुड इट पॉइंट टुवर्ड्स एंगल क्लोजर?
एक्चुअली पैची पिगमेंटेशन का मतलब क्या है? थोड़ा जगह की पिगमेंट है, थोड़ा पिगमेंट नहीं है। तो अगर ये नैरो एंगल के साथ पैची आ रहा है आपका, तो ये एक तरह का इनडायरेक्ट एविडेंस है कि पेशेंट को इंटरमिटेंट एंगल क्लोजर हो रहा है। जैसे पेशेंट कभी अंधकार में बैठा था या डार्क रूम में था, या जब उसका प्यूपिल थोड़ा डायलेट हुआ, आइरिस थोड़ा टच करके चला गया, तो आइरिस जब टच किया ट्रेबिकुलर मेशवर को, थोड़ा पिगमेंट देके चला गया। तो पैची पिगमेंटेशन इन द कॉन्टेक्स्ट ऑफ अ नैरो एंगल गिव्स एन इंडिकेशन कि ये पेशेंट को इंटरमीडिएट एंगल क्लोजर है। तो अगर ये पेशेंट को ऑलरेडी से 180 डिग्री में एंगल आपको पोस्टीरियर ट्रेबिकुलर मेशवर नहीं दिख रहा, संग में पैची पिगमेंटेशन भी है, तो इट कैन बी एन इंडिकेशन फॉर डूइंग एन आइरिडोटोमी 1। पर अगर ये वाइड ओपन एंगल में कहीं कहीं पिगमेंट है कहीं नहीं है, देन इट कैन बी बिकॉज ऑफ ओल्ड ट्रॉमा, कैन बी बिकॉज ऑफ यूवेटिस, because of pigment dispersion in surgery also. But in a closed angle setting में it's basically an indication of intermittent iridotrabecular contact या intermittent angle closure. ठीक है?
मैंने ग्लोकोमा फ्लेकन और प्लेट्यू आइरिस को एक बार फिर से एक्सप्लेन कर दीजिए।
ग्लोकोमा फ्लेकन क्या होता है? जब हम लोग का एक्यूट एंगल क्लोजर अटैक होता है और सडनली बहुत हाई प्रेशर हो जाता है, तो हाई प्रेशर से सब कैप्सुलर बोलते हैं इन्फाक्शन होता है लेंस के, या सब कैप्सुलर ओपेसिटी होता है। तो वो आप सिटलम में जैसे फोटो में दिखाया था, एंटीरियर कैप्सूल के नीचे व्हाइट आप ओपेसिटीज देखेंगे, विच इज बेसिकली इंडिकेशन की अगर कोई पहले का एक्यूट अटैक का पेशेंट अगर आपके पास आएगा, देखिएगा लेंस में जस्ट एपिथेलियम के नीचे, एंटीरियर कैप्सूल के नीचे व्हाइट पैचिंग ओपेसिटी थोड़ा रहता है। दैट इज बेसिकली अ ग्लोकोमा फ्लेकन। और सेकंड है आपका ने कहा क्या सर? प्लेट्यू आइरिस। प्लेट्यू आइरिस को लेके मैं पर्सनली बोलूंगा अभी इनिशियली बहुत ज्यादा इसको लेके नहीं घुसना है, बिकॉज वो तो नेवर एंडिंग हो जाएगा ग्लोकोमा। अभी हम लोग वाइड ओपन क्लोज एंगल को फोकस करें। फिर क्या होता है, जब आप एंगल क्लोजर को ट्रीटमेंट स्टार्ट कर दिए, आपने एक पीआई किया, अब नियम है कि पीआई करने के बाद 1 से 2 हफ्ते के बाद आपको उसको गोनोस्कोपी रिपीट करना चाहिए। कि हमने जो पीआई किया वो एंगल ओपन हुआ कि नहीं हुआ, पर्पस तो सर्व हुआ कि नहीं। अब हम 2 हफ्ते बाद अगर गोनोस्कोपी कर रहे हैं और देख रहे हैं कि 360 डिग्री हमको पीटीएम दिख रहा है, हमने पहले क्रॉस में लिखा था एटीएम एटीएम एटीएम, अभी हमको एसएस 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 या पीटीएम पीटीएम दिख रहा है, मतलब मेरा एंगल ओपन कर गया, मेरा काम हो गया। अब मैं 6 महीने बाद उसको भी देख सकता हूँ अगर प्रेशर नॉर्मल है। अगर मैं देख रहा हूँ कि 2 जगह तो ओपन हो गया, 1 जगह क्लोज रह गया, तो मैं थोड़ा सा प्रेशर देके देखूंगा, अरे ये तो ओपन ही नहीं कर रहा है, इसका मतलब एकदम क्लोज है, मतलब वहां पर ऑलरेडी साइनेकिया फॉर्म कर चुका है, अब वो ओपन नहीं होने वाला, वो एरिया क्लोज्ड है, वहां का ट्रेबेकुलर मेशवर्क को आयरिस ने बंद कर दिया है, तो वो एक हुआ। अब कभी कभी क्या होता है कि ओपन तो नहीं है, एंगल क्लोज्ड है, लेकिन आप थोड़ा सा प्रेस करते हैं तो आयरिस पीछे चला जाता है और एंगल ओपन हो जाता है। इसका मतलब कि प्यूपिलरी ब्लॉक को आपने हटा दिया, प्यूपिलरी ब्लॉक इज द रीजन जिसके कारण वो आयरिस बॉम्बिंग होता है और एंगल क्लोज होता है, प्यूपिलरी ब्लॉक को आपने हटा दिया, तो अभी क्यों ये एंगल क्लोज्ड है, ये खुल क्यों नहीं रहा? तो क्या है, ये आयरिस है और इसके पीछे सिलरी बॉडी है, वो सिलरी बॉडी आयरिस को पीछे जाने नहीं दे रहा, सीलियरी बॉडी इज मोर एंटीरियरली पोजीशनड। तो वैसे केसेस में हम लोग प्लेटो आयरिस सस्पेक्ट करते हैं, तब अगर आप थोड़ा प्रेशर डालेंगे तो वो पेरिफेरी ऑफ द आयरिस में आयरिस ऐसे हम्प हो जाता है, मतलब आयरिस फ्लैट रहता है, जहां पर एंगल के पास जहां एंड होता है वहां आयरिस थोड़ा सा एलिवेटेड रहता है, जिसको वो लोग हम पैटर्न बोलते हैं, या कभी कभी डबल हम भी दिखता है। तो इस केसेस में हम लोगों को पाइलोकार्पिन का एक अच्छा रोल है, प्लेटो आयरिस पेशेंट में पाइलोकार्पिन गिव्स गुड रिजल्ट, पाइलोकार्पिन देने से एंगल ओपन करता है, प्लस लेजर आयरिडोप्लास्टी कर सकते हैं, पर लेजर आयरिडोप्लास्टी बहुत कम ही लोग करते हैं, ज्यादा पाइलोकार्पिन ही इंडिया में यूज होता है। बट मैं बोलूंगा इनिशियली हम लोग को उतना ज्यादा साइक्लोडायलिसिस, क्लेफ्ट और प्लेटो आयरिस में नहीं जाना है, जो पर्पस है इस मीटिंग का कि हमको गोनोस्कोपी स्टार्ट करना है और कॉमन केसेस को पहले देखना है। ये सारे केसेस आस्ते आस्ते हम लोग सर खुद ही हो जाएगा, जब करने लगेंगे ना और एक बार कंफर्टेबल हो जाएंगे तो आस्ते आस्ते हम लोग सब देख लेंगे। ठीक है सर,
थैंक यू।
अच्छा डॉक्टर मनीष, हेलो हेलो,
बोलिए सर।
मैं एक बात बोल रहा था कि कंफ्यूजन यूजुअली आई गेट समटाइम्स दैट आप यूवीआईटी ग्लोकोमा और आइस सिंड्रोम में कभी कभी बहुत डिफिकल्ट होता है कि आपको, मतलब मुझे समझ में नहीं आता है कि इसको क्या लेवल करूं। ऐसे पेशेंट का गोनियोस्कोपी, मतलब पीटीएम का पैचेस आपको नहीं दिख रहा हो स्मॉल एरियाज में जैसा आपने फोटो में दिखाया, उसमें आप कैसे डिफरेंशिएट कर?
आई सिंड्रोम और यूवीआईटी ग्लोकोमा में सर आपको गोनोस्कोपी का फाइंडिंग में दिखाया, वो गोनोस्कोपी को मैंने अंडरस्टैंड करने के लिए, बट यूवीआईटी ग्लोकोमा आपको क्रिएटिक प्रिसिपिटेट्स, एंटीरियर चेंबर इन्फ्लेमेशन, वो सब आपको क्लासिकल फाइंडिंग मिलेगा, पिगमेंट ओवर द लेंस, दीज विल गिव यू एन आइडिया कि आप यूवीआईटिक आई से डील कर रहे हैं। आई सिंड्रोम में आपको केपीज नहीं मिलेगा, आई सिंड्रोम में आपको पिगमेंट ऑन द लेंस नहीं मिलेगा, एंटीरियर चेंबर सेल्स नहीं मिलेगा। आई सिंड्रोम में आपको आयरिस में होल मिलेगा, आयरिस कहीं पर देखेंगे इतना पतला हो गया कि लग रहा छेद हो गया, 4-5 छेद हो गया। यूवीआईटिक आई में इससे छेद कभी नहीं होगा। यूवीआईटिक आई अगर हर्पेटिक है तो कहीं कहीं थोड़ा सा व्हाइट पैच भले ही हो, लेकिन आपको होल नहीं मिलेगा। तो दीज विल, यू हैव टू सी द एसोसिएटेड फाइंडिंग्स ऑफ यूवीआइटिस एंड आई सिंड्रोम। फिर आई सिंड्रोम में आपको बहुत चौड़ा चौड़ा साइनेका मिलेगा, कभी कभी लगता है आयरिस जैसे एकदम कॉर्निया में घुस गया है, चढ़ गया है, ब्रॉड साइनेका एंटरिंग इनटू द कॉर्निया। फिर जैसे मेरा आयरिस होल का कॉर्नल इडिमा बहुत बार कॉमन होता है आयरिस आई सिंड्रोम। आप स्पेकुलर करिए, स्पेकुलर में आपको मिलेगा गट्टेटा और डिफेक्टिव एंडोथेलियल सेल्स। तो इट्स टोटलिटी आप देखेंगे तो आप इसको फिर डिफरेंशिएट कर पाएंगे।
मेटल बीटिंग ऑफ एंडोथेलियम।
We have to see other associated findings.
Extra findings, seismic findings also.
मेनली आइरिस फाइंडिंग्स के ऊपर ज्यादा कंसंट्रेट करना है सर। आइस सिंड्रोम,
आइरिस फाइंडिंग देखेंगे ना सर, आइरिस का पैटर्न एकदम अलग रहता है आइस में, और रेदर जो कंफ्यूजिंग कभी कभी होता है एक्सेंट फील एनोमली के साथ, कभी कभी आइस में आदमी थोड़ा सा कभी कभी गड़बड़ा जाता है,
सही सही,
वो कभी कभी बड़ा सिमिलर पिक्चर प्रेजेंट कर देता है।
थैंक यू सर,
ठीक है,
थैंक यू सो मच।
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for
the nice talk and everything.
Thank you everyone for having me here.
Thank you sir.
I hope to meet physically. काफी virtual चल रहा है. Let us hope we get a chance to meet everyone.
Yes sir, we can have a practical workshop also.
श्योर श्योर
एक हम लोग का
नहीं, मनीष
talk,
सर,
ड्यू है
नहीं,
डॉक्टर
मनीष सर,
मनीष के साथ डिस्क
physically-
एवल्यूशन पर। डिस्क एवल्यूशन पर एक टॉक आपका ड्यू है हम लोग का, जब आप बोलिएगा
श्योर
तो
सर
हम
श्योर
लोग
सर फिर 1-2 महीने में करते हैं सर।
हाँ
अभी हम लोग नेक्स्ट 2 महीना गणेश को फोकस करते
हाँ
हैं।
गणेश को फोकस।
नहीं, फिजिकली मिलना जरूरी है सर। पार्टी बचा हुआ है आपका नेत्रालयम का।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल। इनफैक्ट आप लोग कलकत्ता आए तो जरूर आइए एक बार।
फिजिकली तो वो कलकत्ता बुला ही रहे हैं हम लोग, कोई जा नहीं
मस्ट
रहा
फॉर
है।
डेस्टिनेशन में है अब नेत्रालयम।
इस बार तो लग रहा है एआईएस भी वर्चुअली होगा।
वर्चुअली होना पड़ेगा कोई, अभी तो जून में तो जाने का सवाल ही नहीं है। अब तो थर्ड वेव का अनाउंसमेंट हो रहा है, इसलिए और नहीं जाएगा
अभी यही वेव निकल जाए।
अभी यही निकल जाए सर, थर्ड वेव देखने लायक होगा आदमी तब ना।
हाँ राइट राइट।
पहले थर्ड वेव तक रुक तो जाए।
अभी तो जो चल रहा है हालत है कि मतलब।
और अभी तो गोनियोस्कोपी भी किस पे करेंगे, पेशेंट देख के डर लगता है साला कहाँ से आ गया।
नहीं ठीक है, मतलब ध्यान रखना है कि करना है।
अभी बहुत बुरा हालत है, बहुत बुरा।
सही बात। खैर चलिए, सब निकल ही जाएगा। बट बहुत अच्छा टॉक था डॉक्टर मनीष, वेरी एनलाइटिंग एंड एन आई ओपनर टू ऑल ऑफ अस। ये मेरा मानना है। हम हमेशा सोचते हैं करेंगे 1-2 में करते हैं, फिर छोड़ो यार ओपीडी निपटाओ, ये करो।
अब 50 तक सोचना नहीं है, फ्रेंच मूवी देखना है।
हाँ, नहीं तो अब तो स्ट्रक्चर समझ में आने लगा है। खैर चलिए, अच्छा है, फिर आप और आगे भी करेंगे। थैंक यू।
ओके सर, गुड नाइट सर।
ग्लोकोमा इज वन सच थिंग
डॉक्टर
अगर आप
नीलेश
मिस
आगे।
करते हो, अगर ग्लोकोमा इज वन सच थिंग, एक लाइन सिर्फ, कि अगर आप मिस करते हो और बाद में पता चलता है कि पेशेंट को ग्लोकोमा है, तो यू फील वेरी गिल्टी कि हम नहीं डायग्नोस कर पाए।
डेफिनेटली
ये बहुत बड़ी बात है।
ये एक बहुत बड़ा प्रॉब्लम है कि पेशेंट्स भी अभी काफी अलग हो गए हैं। दे आर आल्सो वेरी डिमांडिंग एंड दे आर ऑफन टेस्टिंग अस आल्सो, सो वी हैव टू बी वेरी
वो तो मान लीजिए आप लोग क्या है ना, हम लोग क्या नहीं है, उन लोगों को कुछ नहीं समझ में आता है क्या हो रहा है क्या नहीं हो रहा है। जो गांव के हैं या छोटे हैं या बाहर कहीं चले गए, देन दैट्स डिफरेंट।
वैसे भी कभी कभी आ जाता है
पर कभी कभी इन लोग के पास तो सब वैसे ही आता है।
हाँ, इन लोग के पास तो ज्यादातर वैसे ही रहता है।
अब वो पहले वाला तो पेशेंट डॉक्टर बॉन्डिंग रहा नहीं, अब
बिल्कुल
अलग
तो
टाइप
पूरा फाइल छिपा के रहेगा, उसके बाद आपसे बोलेगा बताइए क्या है। उसके बाद सर आपको बड़े नाम से डराएगा।
लेजर एडवाइस किया हुआ है, बताएंगे नहीं। सब होने के बाद कह रहे हमको तो लेजर करने बोला। आपने कौन सा लेजर बोला?
उसके बाद बड़े नाम से डराएगा, हम शंकर नेत्रालय जा चुके हैं, हम एम्स जा चुके हैं, ये वो नाम। एक गुरु फाइल दिखाओ यार।
राइट, ऐसे भी आ जाते हैं। चलिए, आप लोग के यहाँ तो ज्यादा आते हैं। यस नीलेश आगे।
So we will move ahead. There is a small talk from Ajanta Pharma before we disperse.
बाकी है भाभी।
डॉक्टर मनीष,
दीपक सर को भाभी बुला रही है खाना खाने के लिए।
1-2 मिनट और।
हाँ,
यस यस।
हम भी खाना ले ही आते अपना।
अब ये भी नहीं कह सकते कि हम लोग खिला देते हैं।
नहीं सर, गौरव सर भी हैं हमारे यहाँ पे लाइन में।
हाँ, कुछ बोलना चाहेंगे?
प्रभात जी।
यस सर, बस 1 मिनट रुक दीजिए, 1 मिनट।
हाँ।
So meanwhile, I'll announce our next webinar will be on 26th May. It will be a talk from Love sir, from Netralaya. It will be on low dose for myopia progression, low dose atropine for myopia progression.
Gaurav sir is coming to say
Yeah.
thank you.
Welcome.
Namaskar, sir.
Welcome. Welcome and thank you.
Namaskar. Thank you very much for this event, and a special thank to Dr. Manish sir. Such a illustrated, well narrative subject he has taken. And the only thing which I wish to say that please take care of your all health, because time is different. वक्त थोड़ा सा different है, तो आप सब अपना ध्यान रखें और keep treating the patient the way you are treating. Thank you very much, sir.
नेतालों के बारे में भी आप कुछ बोल सकते हैं?
नहीं सर, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है, वो चलता रहेगा, वो हमेशा रहेगा. एवरी प्लेटफॉर्म शुड नॉट बी यूज्ड फॉर प्रमोशन सर. आपका साथ है, आप सब हमारे साथ हैं, दैट इज मोर इम्पोर्टेंट, एंड दैट इज द मेन थिंग which is always there.
नहीं, वो ऐसी बात नहीं है. हेल्दी वी कम टू नो मेनी थिंग्स फ्रॉम यू. जैसे बहुत से जो भी फार्माकोलॉजिकल प्रोडक्ट्स हैं, आप ही लोगों
अच्छा,
से-
नेटालों के बारे में तो बहुत बार बोलबे किए हैं सर, अब आज छोड़ा
ठीक है।
जाए, लेट हो गया।
हाँ ठीक है।
No, no,
कुछ भी
sir, I
समझ
don't
रहे
want
हैं,
to
पेशेंट है
use
ये
this.
नहीं, ओपीडी खोलिए नहीं रहे, नेटालों के
मिले।
करेंगे अभी।
Thank you, Gaurav. Thank you for that kind words. And before we leave, a vote of thanks from Dr. Sanjeev, sir. Sir, mute hai, sir.
Mute.
Sanjeev, sir, mute hai, sir.
आप
जी,
नहीं
sir.
कर सकते, अनम्यूट।
हाँ, कर दिया, कर दिया.
Thanks, Dr. Nilesh. I thank everyone on behalf of Sawad Ophthalmic Society for making this CME so successful. My thanks to the evergreen speaker, Dr. Manish Singh ji, my friend from Shankar Nethralaya, for making this CME very informative. And I still remember, I have seen him very closely since the days of Shankar Nethralaya, and he first gave me the diode cycle of photocoagulation, how to do that. So, and we have learned so many things. Initially, I had so many questions, but I have no question right now because he has very well explained everything. My special thanks to the guest speaker, Dr. Akbar, for clarifying so many things on colonoscopy. And our big thanks to the chairperson, Professor ASB Sahai sir, for his blessings. And thanks to all the chairpersons, panelists, program coordinators, and their for their participation. Thanks to our local hero, Dr. Nilesh, for nicely moderating the session. And my sincere thanks to the Ajanta Pharma people, Mr. Gaurav Sharma, Pavanji, Dharmendraji, and Prabhatji for making this event so smooth and flawless. Please take care of yourself in these difficult times. Last but not the least, my thanks to Rungta sir for taking all the pain and for arranging this webinar. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Manish ji.
Thank you, Manish sir. Thank you, Akbar sir.
Thank you. Dr.
Thank you.
Good night, sir.
Good night, everyone.